Chapter 1249. His Royal Highness is horrible to Feng Wu 1. Chapter 1249. His Royal Highness is horrible to Feng Wu 1. By then, Jun Linyuan had already landed with Feng Wu. Oh God, it's His Royal Highness. His Royal Highness is here. His Royal Highness just landed from above. Everybody look. We don't get to see His Royal Highness every day. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Immediately, everyone was excited and ran out as fast as they could, because if they ran fast enough, they would be able to see His Royal Highness up close. Hence, all the customers of the World Tower ran out, surrounding Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu in the middle. Even Zhuo Qingyu, De Guillermo, and Feng Lu ran out. Moreover, they were the ones leading the crowd. Thus, everyone saw the beautiful girl in a pink dress leaning against the equally beautiful teenager. The girl had such an ethereal beauty that one couldn't begin to describe how attractive she was. The teenager had the domineering and imposing air of someone born to rule, and his demeanor reminded others of the god of death. They leaned against each other, their gazes intertwined. The lower hems of their clothes tangled together and flapped in the wind, as though they were dancing together. It was the most beautiful picture anyone had ever seen. Seeing this, Zhuo Qingyu felt something click in her head, and her stomach lurched. No, Zhuo Qingyu had never felt so threatened before. This Feng Wu. She decided that Feng Wu had to die. Otherwise, she would become the biggest problem for them in the future. Zhuo Qingyu clenched her fists. Her face had turned livid, and her eyes spat fire. Feng Lu had gone very pale and couldn't stop trembling. Feng Wu, why does it have to be you? Why? I don't believe this. I won't accept it. People in the crowd were all looking at them with indescribable looks on their faces. They had almost believed it earlier when Zhuo Qingyu told them that His Royal Highness was only pitying Feng Wu and wasn't fond of her. But looking at them now, Feng Sun and Xianni landed at that moment. Xiao Wu, Feng Sun was about to walk up to them when Jun Linyuan glared at Feng Wu. He sounded like a thunderclap when he bellowed, "Do you have a death wish?" It was such an ear-splitting sound that everyone, including Feng Wu, felt as though they were going deaf. Before they knew it, they were covering their ears. Their heads buzzed, and they felt like throwing up. What a frightening blast. It seemed that His Royal Highness was really angry. Those standing in the front row stumbled back involuntarily. The entire crowd fell back together, and there was much more room for the young couple now. Shocked by Jun Linyuan's voice, Feng Wu couldn't think straight over the buzzing in her ears, which was awful. She gave Jun Linyuan an aggrieved look and complained, "You're going to make me deaf." With her pretty face and her aggrieved voice, all men would pity her. However, the Crown Prince only smacked Feng Wu on the forehead. Smack, going deaf. Why do you care if you aren't even afraid of death? He was already frightening enough when he didn't speak. Now that he was infuriated, he reminded others of 1,000 thunderclaps going off all at once. Chapter 1250. His Royal Highness is horrible to Feng Wu too. Chapter 1250. His Royal Highness is horrible to Feng Wu too. The people that were already some distance away moved back even further. The Crown Prince's bellow almost made them go deaf, especially those who weren't as advanced in their cultivation. Blood oozed out of their ears immediately. Zhuo Qingyu and De Guillermo exchanged satisfied looks. Oh my, here they were, thinking that His Royal Highness was so nice to Feng Wu, but then he was bellowing at her in front of everyone with such a ferocious look on his face. How could anyone say that he was in love with her after this? Feng Wu had finally moved away from Jun Linyuan, but after he smacked her on the forehead, she lost her balance and fell to the ground. A short distance away, Zhuo Qingyu smirked. As it turned out, His Royal Highness didn't like Feng Wu all that much. Staring at Feng Wu with a ferocious look in his eyes, the Crown Prince said, "If you want to die, go ahead. No one's stopping you." He then flipped his sleeves and left. Your Royal Highness. Feng Wu's ears were still buzzing, but she still grabbed Jun Linyuan's sleeve. Infuriated, The crown prince threw her hand off and left without hesitation. Poor Feng Wu was left behind. His Royal Highness was mad. Feng Wu had pissed His Royal Highness off. Everyone in the crowd looked at Feng Wu with indescribable expressions in their eyes. Some were sympathetic, while others gloated at her predicament. Feng Wu had no idea what they were thinking, because she was lost in her own thoughts. She was talking to the fairy. What about the fourth trial? What's it going to be? Feng Wu pressed. She sounded worried because she had yet to recover from the previous trials. The last 2 trials were finished only less than a minute before the deadline, and that was too close. She could have failed either time. She couldn't afford the loss. The fairy covered her ears. You've finished 2 trials in a row. Aren't you tired? Don't you need some rest? Feng Wu snorted. No, I'm not, and I don't need to rest. As long as I can find the broken star piece to save my beautiful master, I'll do anything. The fairy could see the beautiful, godlike figure lying on the white jade ice bed in the ring space, and she tried to compare him with Junlin Yuan, the extremely talented Tianger. She scratched her head, for she didn't know who to choose between the 2 of them. What's the rush? You won't have another trial in a few hours, so get some rest and get your strength back. The fairy felt conflicted after stealing a look at the task on her bulletin board. Feng Wu was about to ask more questions when she heard a sarcastic voice. Gosh, Feng Wu, why are you still here? If I were you, I would have run away by now. Turning around, Feng Wu saw that it was none other than Feng Lu. Watching you chuckled in faint of vexed tone when she spoke to Feng Lu. Don't be so harsh. Can't you see how upset your sister is? You should offer her some comforting words. Feng Lu smirked. Comfort her? I would have to lose my mind to do that. If she hadn't overreached and tried to fawn on the crown prince, she would never have to endure this. If you ask me, she got what she deserves. Chapter 1251, The Final PLO. Chapter 1251, The Final PLO. Duguyamo pretended to be nice. Feng Lu, stop it. At the end of the day, she's still your sister. My sister? Huh. Feng Lu smirked. If she really thinks of me as her sister, she would never have picked on me like that. If she never treated me like a sister, why should I? Feng Lu walked up to Feng Wu as she spoke and sneered at her. Well, Feng Wu, I bet you want to hit me now, don't you? Do it, then. I dare you. She believed that because Feng Wu had been dumped by Junlin Yuan, she had to be so devastated that she would stop fighting back altogether. Feng Sun had been standing on the side and was furious to hear that. How dare that woman offend his sister like that? Man or woman, he decided that he would kick the person's ass first. He was about to walk up to them when he stopped him. Let go of me. Feng Sun glared at He lowered his voice. You can't do this. Feng Sun smirked. My sister is being picked on, so why can't I help her? Am I just going to watch as those people bully Xiao Wu? You're only saying that because she's not your sister. He found it impossible to talk to the guy. This brat was impossible to talk to when he was being unreasonable. Lowering his voice, he glared at Feng Sun and said, Have you forgotten? Feng Sun is the person who killed Xian Yuani. She's a tigress, not a helpless bunny. Something clicked in Feng Sun's head, and he saw the light. He then smacked his own forehead. That was right. Little Feng Wu had demonstrated her capability a short while ago, proving that she wasn't easy prey. Since Feng Lu wouldn't show her due respect, she could use the girl to set an example. As expected, Feng Wu suddenly raised her head and stared at Feng Lu. Her eyes shone fiercely at that moment. She knew that Feng Lu was being used by Zhuo Qingyu as a pawn, and she also knew that turning against her sister would ruin the Feng clan's reputation. She knew all that, but she didn't care. Feng Wu raised a hand, and smack. She slapped Feng Lu forcibly. Poor Feng Lu. She flew backward in an arc through the air and fell to the ground with a thump. Everyone stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. Holy shit, Feng Wu. If I remember correctly, that Feng Lu is her sister, isn't she? She hit her. She hit her own sister. That's so cold. How can you blame Feng Wu? Feng Lu provoked her first. That's right. Would you just stand there and let Feng Lu say those things if you were Feng Wu? Feng Lu's mind went blank when she hit the ground. She had been smacked away. She couldn't even withstand a single strike from Feng Wu. After returning to herself, Feng Lu raised her head to find all the other people giving her strange looks, and she was so embarrassed. Zhuo Qingyu was the first to react. She mouthed a few words to Feng Lu, then pointed at a pillar. Feng Lu was completely dazed and was too panicked to think straight. So when Zhuo Qingyu showed her the way, she immediately saw the light. That was right. Since she had been humiliated, she had to make sure that Feng Wu would go down with her. Chapter 1252, A Useful Old Plot 1. Chapter 1252, A Useful Old Plot 1. At that thought, Feng Lu jumped to her feet and rushed toward the pillar at an unbelievable speed. Feng Wu, you've humiliated me. I'll take my revenge after I become a ghost. She yelled as she ran. Zhuo Qingyu had told her that she would save her at the last moment. As expected, everyone shrieked when they saw that Feng Lu was going to smash her head into the pillar. Feng Lu, don't. Zhuo Qingyu was the first to react. She ran toward Feng Lu, but there was a loud thud. Zhuo Qingyu fell to the ground for no reason. Her hand was only less than 30 centimeters away from Feng Lu. No one saw the evil smile on her face when she hit the ground. Thump! The noise was very loud. Feng Lu knocked into the pillar, and blood splattered everywhere. Feng Lu. Feng Sang realized what had happened in astonishment. Eyes wide open, she rushed toward her sister. Duguyamo was helping Zhuo Qingyu at that moment and kept calling out her name. Qingyu! Qingyu! Are you all right? Qingyu, wake up! In fact, from an angle the others couldn't see, Zhuo Qingyu and Duguyamo exchanged satisfied looks. Duguyamo gave Zhuo Qingyu a thumbs up. Nice job. People would always sympathize with the weak. Now that everyone saw that Feng Wu had forced Feng Lu to take her own life, public opinion would be on Feng Lu's side. With a little guidance, everyone would shower Feng Wu with accusations over what she had done, and Feng Wu's reputation would be completely ruined. And they would love to see Feng Lu dead. With her death, people would be even harsher on Feng Wu, and the impact of this incident would be greater. Now, that His Royal Highness was obviously tired of Feng Wu and the Feng clan was too weak to help her, they were certain that they could destroy Feng Wu this time. Zhuo Qingyu was so pleased about her brilliant idea. However, to Zhuo Qingyu's surprise, a rock hit Feng Lu just before she hit the pillar. Thump! The rock made Feng Lu lose her balance a little. She still knocked into the pillar, but not with her head. It was only her right shoulder. Hence, she didn't die. She was perfectly conscious, but the pain was unbearable. Zhuo Qingyu's heart sank when she looked up and saw where Feng Lu had been hurt. Damn it! She clenched her fists in frustration. She finally knew what one step short of success meant. Zhuo Qingyu threw a dirty look at Feng Lu, hoping that she would return herself quickly and start crying for pity while she still could. She should grab every chance to smear Feng Wu's name. Feng Lu wanted to, but she was in so much pain that she couldn't utter a word. Feng Wu looked down at her. There was no warmth in her eyes, but only sarcasm. Feng Lu, I'm amazed. Did you just pretend to kill yourself? Crouching down, Feng Wu smiled at her. Do you hate me that much that you want to slander me with your own death? You want the whole world to turn against me, don't you? Lips twitching, Feng Lu sobbed. Chapter 1253, A Useful Old Plot 2. Chapter 1253, A Useful Old Plot 2. When Feng Lu finally could speak again, she stared at Feng Wu and sobbed. Feng Wu, how can you humiliate me like this? I'll make you pay for what you did, even if I die. How do I have anything to do with this? Feng Wu gave her a half-smile. Did I force you? And how did I humiliate you? By then, the crowd was beginning to give Feng Wu attitude. Since the girls were sisters from the same clan, the crowd decided that Feng Wu shouldn't hold a grudge against Feng Lu, and if she hadn't pressed too hard, Feng Lu would never have tried to take her own life. Most of the time, people would take pity on the weak. Although Feng Lu wasn't dead, the injury to her shoulder was quite severe, and there was blood everywhere. My right arm is crippled. It's all your fault. I'd rather be dead. Feng Lu only smiled. I wouldn't worry about that right arm if I were you. I think the injury to your belly is much more severe. Look, it's still bleeding. Please stop talking and let me stop the bleeding. Hearing Feng Wu's reminder, Feng Lu felt as if she had been struck in the head by a bolt of lightning. Rumble. Her ears buzzed and she was dumbfounded. Involuntarily, she lowered her head. She saw that the lower half of her dress was stained with sticky red blood. She almost went insane at that moment. Only then did she finally remember that she was pregnant. She had kept the baby, but now. Feng Wu said kindly, "If I don't stop the bleeding, you'll die. Now let me help you." She acted as though she knew nothing about Feng Lu's condition. However, many women in the crowd were mothers, and they were shocked when they saw the condition Feng Lu was in. Is that? It has to be her time of the month. No, it's not. There's way too much blood for that. I think she's going to have a miscarriage. What? She's unmarried. How can she have a miscarriage? The Feng clan would protest. Look at Feng Lu's belly. I didn't see it before, but can you see it now? She's showing a little, isn't she? What? She's not married yet, is she? She doesn't even have a fiancé. Instantly, public opinion turned against Feng Lu. Her face drained of all color, and she looked like a small boat being tossed around by tidal waves. Feng Wu smiled a little. Feng Lu had reaped the fruit of her own actions. As to whether or not Feng Wu's own reputation would be affected by this, she couldn't care less. She wasn't the sort who was all about her reputation. Moreover, Feng Lu had her own sister, so to what extent could Feng Wu, a mere cousin, be affected? Swaying, a pale Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu with hatred. Her eyes seemed to spit fire. Feng Wu, how dare you ruin my reputation? Let me die. Struggling to her feet, Feng Lu ran toward the pillar again. She's getting better at this. Feng Wu smiled sarcastically. Feng Lu wouldn't do something like this for no reason, and Feng was trying to force her to show her cards. Lu, don't. A teenager rushed out of the crowd and ran toward Feng Lu. Chapter 1254, A Useful Old Plot 3. Chapter 1254, A Useful Old Plot 3. Feng Lu's eyes flickered, but she went on rushing forward. Let me die. Let me die. Lu. The teenager threw his arms around Feng Lu's waist to stop her and seemed to feel sorry for her. Duguyamo's eyes shone coldly when she saw him. Dugamingshi, what are you doing here? Duguyamo seemed displeased by the way he was holding Feng Lu. The rosy-lipped pretty teenager was Dugamingshi, the third son and the favorite child of the Dugu family. He heard his sister's question, but didn't reply. He only lowered his head and looked at Feng Lu with a pained look on his face. Lu, why did you do that? My dear Lu, I was so worried. The crowd was shocked when they heard Dugu Mungshi's words. OMG, everyone stared at the brave teenager in disbelief. Who is he? Someone asked curiously. The World Tower was filled with famous people, and someone answered the question before long. Hey, isn't that the third son of the Dugu family? The third son of the Dugu family? As in the family of Empress Dugu? That's right, that Dugu family. Oh my, is Feng Lu pregnant with his baby? The daughter of the Feng clan is going to marry so well. Everyone stared at Feng Lu in disbelief. Duguyamo was so angry that her eyes had gone bloodshot red. Dugumingshi, come back here. Duguyamo tried to grab her younger brother. Dugumingshi was usually an obedient boy, but now he was shielding Feng Lu with his own body like a hero. Feng Lu is my girl. I should be the one to protect her. He then turned to Feng Wu and said coldly, Feng Wu, I saw what you did to Feng Lu. If anything happens to her, I'll make you pay. After that, he picked Feng Lu up in both arms and marched off. Feng Wu smiled a little. Dugumingshi? Things were getting even more interesting. Dugumingshi, stop right there. Duguyamo ran after him like a crazy person. She thought she was going to be the happy onlooker who could watch Feng Lu and Feng Wu jump at each other's throat. As it turned out, her own family had become the center of attention today. Seeing how frantic Dugayamo was, Feng Wu knew that things would get even more interesting. Watching you glared at Feng Wu. Are you satisfied now? Feng Wu gave her a half-smile. Miss Wu, you could really use some practice with that dive. Watching you flushed. Damn it. Feng Wu had seen through her. However, she soon calmed down. So what if Feng Wu knew what really happened? No one would believe her. Leaning over, she whispered into Feng Wu's ear. So what if I faked it? Feng Lu must hate you so much now. Feng Wu smiled. Does she? Switching you smiled. Feng Lu isn't alone now. Will you be able to withstand the rage of the Dugu family? After that, Switching you flipped her handkerchief and left with a gloating smile. Xiao Wu. Feng Sun walked over to Feng Wu with a frown. What did that girl say? Did she threaten you? Seeing how eager Feng Sun seemed to beat Zwitching you up, Feng Wu smiled. How could she possibly threaten me? She's just a clown. Chapter 12:55 Hostile Visitor. Chapter 12:55 Hostile Visitor. She didn't threaten you. Really? Feng Sun wasn't convinced. Feng Wu smiled. She's not good enough to do that yet. Holding his sword between crossed arms, He kept his unblinking gaze on Feng Wu and frowned. Why? Feng Wu shouldn't have reminded Feng Lu of her own condition, since it wouldn't do her any good. Moreover, she shouldn't have been the one to reveal that secret. Can't you see? Feng Wu grinned at Yi frowned and shook his head. Feng Wu smiled. You're not supposed to. Yi asked what? Feng Wu said, Don't worry. Have I ever done something when I knew I was going to lose? You'll see in the future. That enigmatic but confident demeanor reminded them so much of Jun Lin Yuan. Since Jun Lin Yuan wasn't around, Feng Sun rubbed Feng Wu's hair. Feng Sun. Rumors about Feng Lu soon got out, and the entire Imperial capital was talking about it. In Fallen Star Yard, Xiao Wu, why is it that every time you go out, something big happens? I feel like I've missed so much. Chaoga took Feng Wu's arm and swayed it back and forth. Chaoga had been training as hard as she could recently. Feng Wu had been making such quick progress that Chaoga didn't dare take a break. She feared that if she did, she would be left even further behind. Hence, she had been working as hard as she could. Chaoga had been making rapid progress herself. Her achievements in the last few days had been incredible. What level are you at now? Feng Wu looked at Chaoga. Chaoga lowered her head and looked ashamed. I'm only a level 5 spiritual grandmaster. Feng Wu was surprised. Already? That's so fast. Chaoga smiled wryly. Compared with you, that's not fast at all. I've talked to Grand Secretary Feng already, and he told me that if I want to keep up with you, I have to train as hard as I can. I can't afford a rest, which is why I've been practicing even in my sleep. However, she was still very far behind. Feng Wu smiled wryly. With the help of her beautiful master and all the treasures in her ring space, it would be such a waste of resources if she didn't progress at her current speed. Just then, they heard a hubbub of voices, and someone yelled, Feng Wu, get out here. It was Lady Wang. Chaoga jumped and involuntarily pulled Feng Wu behind her. However, she frowned when she realized who it was. Is that Lady Wang? Lady Wang had been trying to improve her relationship with Feng Wu's family these days and would visit Fallen Star Yard with gifts from time to time, although Lady Xuanji never used any of them. Thump! Lady Wang kicked the door. Unfortunately, Feng Wu had already changed the front door into one that was made from cast iron, and Lady Wang would only. Ouch! The pain made Lady Wang hold her right leg and cry in pain. Lady Xuanji was frightened by Lady Wang's hostility and looked genuinely terrified. Feng Wu comforted her. Mom, don't worry. I'll get rid of her now. She glanced at Granny Zhao as she spoke. Granny Zhao immediately walked over to lead Lady Xuanji back to her room while comforting the lady in her soft voice. After the beautiful lady was gone, Feng Wu slowly turned back to the iron door. Feng Wu, open up. I know you're in there. You can't hide after all the things you did to my daughter. If anything happens to her, I'm going to kill you. Come out now. Chapter 12:56 Where is your lady? Chapter 1256, Where's Your Lady? Lady Wong was still kicking and pounding on the door when Feng Wu flicked her fingers. The iron door opened at her command. Crack! The momentum of Lady Wong's failed kick sent her hurtling into the yard. The next second, thump! Lady Wong fell on her face. Some mischievous member of Feng Wu's family had kicked a spiked fruit that looked like a durian in Lady Wong's direction when she fell. The scream she made reminded the others of a pig in a slaughterhouse. Instantly, Lady Wong's face was covered with blood. She had almost poked her eye out on the fruit. Lady Wong had been so aggressive when she arrived, but now, all she could do was howl in pain. She no longer posed a threat to anyone. Feng Wu, are you trying to kill me? Covering the wounds on her face, Lady Wong glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu was so calm that she hadn't left her seat. She still sat casually on the swing under the grape trellis. She smiled. I'm trying to kill you? Aunt, how did you come to that conclusion? You can't slander me like that. I won't have it. Compared with Lady Wong's frustration, Feng Wu was much more composed. Lady Wong charged at Feng Wu. She didn't want to say anything. All she wanted to do now was slap Feng Wu as hard as she could. However, before she could reach Feng Wu, "My lady, watch out!" Granny Gue cried out and tried to steady Lady Wong because she had noticed a lot of loose red soybeans on the ground. They were hard and slippery beans, and anyone stepping on them would fall. As expected, all Lady Wong could think of was getting to Feng Wu, and in her rage, she completely stopped paying attention to her surroundings, and she stepped right onto the beans. They weren't just lying there randomly, but had been deliberately put there for a reason. Therefore, when Lady Wong stepped on them, "Ark!" Lady Wong screamed as she fell, and she rolled on the ground into a thorn bush nearby. The thorn bush had spikes. To keep burglars out, Feng Wu had sprinkled poison over the bush. Things wouldn't be so bad if Lady Wong hadn't been injured, but now the toxin could get into her system through her wounds. My lady! My lady! The people she brought almost went crazy. All the men Lady Wong brought today were warriors. They were all as strong as bulls and had thick bats as weapons. They were all very capable young cultivators of the Feng clan. But now, all their mouths were open in astonishment. After everything Lady Wong had gone through, they didn't dare take any action. Granny Gue rushed over to the bush and pulled Lady Wong out of it with all her strength. She almost fainted when she saw the state Lady Wong was in. The lady had looked quite pretty only a minute ago. It was thanks to her good looks that Feng Yinfeng was still infatuated with her even after she had given birth to quite a few children. But now, her face was so swollen that her eyes were two thin slits. Her nose was a big knot, her lips were like sausages, and her face was green. OMG, no one would have recognized her as Lady Wong if they hadn't seen what happened. Lady Wong was so angry that she almost went insane, but she still remembered what she was here for. So, she pointed at Feng Wu and gave the order. Kill her. Kill her now. Kill her. Chapter 1257 Breakdown. Chapter 1257 Breakdown. The men Lady Wong brought all took a step back involuntarily. They were scared. Lady Wong was already in such a miserable state before she even reached Feng Wu. Imagine what would happen if it was one of them. Instantly, their eyes were full of dread and reverence when they looked at Feng Wu. They had all been born into the Feng family as servants, and Lady Wong was the one who ran the affairs in the family. That was why they listened to Lady Wong. However, they all cherished their lives, and no one would do anything that they thought would get them killed. Hence, when Lady Wong gave the order to attack, they only retreated one step after another. Meanwhile, two people were quickly coming this way. It was none other than Feng Yinfeng and Feng Sang. Feng Sang knew that her mother wasn't Feng Wu's match. She didn't want Lady Wong to get hurt, so she had told Feng Yinfeng to get there immediately. Feng Yinfeng, on the other hand, since he had learned about the Crown Prince's affection for Feng Wu, of course he wouldn't let his wife sabotage his relationship with his niece. When Feng Yinfeng walked in, All he saw was Feng Wu on the swing and the worried Granny Gui, as well as the goon squad that had backed away. Luckily, the fight hadn't started yet. Feng Yinfeng grabbed Granny Gui's arm and asked, "Where's your lady?" Granny Gui was almost in tears. She felt so conflicted. With Lady Wang's swollen face, how was the lady supposed to meet anyone in this state? Would she leave the master with a bad impression when he saw her? The master already had so many pretty concubines. However, Lady Wang had lost her head already. She jumped at Feng Yinfeng as soon as she spotted him, as though he was her last straw. OMG, what the hell? The thing that jumped out startled Feng Yinfeng, and the next thing he knew, he kicked it. Poor Lady Wang. Before she could call her master's name, she was already flying backward. Thump! Lady Wang's head smashed into the wall, making her see stars. There was a fist-sized wound on her forehead that wouldn't stop bleeding. Everyone was speechless. They all gave Feng Yinfeng strange looks. Feng Yinfeng didn't realize what had happened. He grabbed Granny Gui and yelled, "Where's my wife? I thought she was here already. Did you see her? Tell me." Granny Gui didn't know what to do. Feng Yinfeng was choking her. Because she couldn't speak, she could only point at the woman that was lying motionlessly under the wall. And then, "Mother!" Feng Sang finally arrived at that moment. She was able to recognize Lady Wang since, for one, they were mother and daughter, and for another, she knew Lady Wang's clothes and body shape. As soon as she saw who the woman was, Feng Sang ran over to Lady Wang and helped her sit up. Tears streaked Feng Sang's cheeks when she asked, "Mother, who did this to you? Tell me." Lady Wang could no longer speak because blood was pouring out of her mouth. Was it Feng Wu? Was it? Feng Sang was furious. Putting Lady Wang back down, she drew out her sword and charged at Feng Wu. "How dare you hurt my mother? I'm going to kill you." Feng Sang bellowed. Feng Wu looked as composed as ever, and she asked casually, "Are you going to kill whoever did that to your mother?" Feng Sang said, "Yes." Feng Wu nodded, then pointed at Feng Yinfeng, who was already dumbfounded. "It was your father. So, take it out on him if you want your revenge." Chapter 1258, What a Farce. Chapter 1258, What a Farce. Bullshit, Feng Sang bellowed, but she still stopped charging at Feng Wu. Everyone in the yard was giving Feng Sang strange looks. Feng Wu was telling the truth. Feng Yinfeng really was the culprit. "Stop!" Feng Yinfeng finally returned to himself. He glared at Feng Sang, snatched the sword from her hand, and threw it on the ground. He then bellowed, "Behave yourself, and take your mother back home." Feng Sang felt aggrieved. "Father!" Infuriated with shame, Feng Yinfeng yelled, "Get out!" His voice was so loud that without the protective formation, Fallen Star Yard would have been blasted to pieces. But Feng Wu only smiled, because she could see that Feng Yinfeng was ashamed of his own conduct. It grew hushed after he shouted those words. Everyone in the yard gave Feng Yinfeng indecipherable looks, and the atmosphere felt extremely awkward. Feng Wu cleared her throat. "Uncle, how can I help you?" She knew that her uncle had the habit of sitting on the fence, which was why he had been so nice to her ever since he was convinced that there was something going on between Feng Wu and Junlin Yuan. He had been like this back then as well. Feng Yinfeng had doted on Feng Wu when she was still engaged to Junlin Yuan. She used to be the apple of his eye, and he used to treat her better than his own daughters. By now, Feng Yinfeng could finally think straight again. He cleared his throat to ease the embarrassment. "Xiao Wu," crossing his hand behind his back, Feng Yinfeng said, "As you may know, your sister is in critical condition at the moment. Aren't you an excellent doctor? Can you help her?" Feng Wu didn't want to, because it would only bring her more trouble. Feng Lu must be so desperate to get rid of that baby now. There was no way that Dugu Mengshi was the father, and the baby would become a time bomb if it was brought to term. Feng Wu was about to say no when her mother rushed out of the house. "Xiao Wu, Xiao Wu." Taking Feng Wu's hand, the beautiful lady hesitated. Feng Wu was bewildered. "I thought you went back to your room." The lady looked at Feng Wu with her beautiful teary eyes, and it broke Feng Wu's heart to see her like this. She could never say no to that look. Rubbing her head, she said, "Fine, fine. Mother, please just tell me what you want, and I'll say yes." The lady smiled, and the smile was as resplendent as fresh flowers after the rain. Taking Feng Wu's hand, the lady whispered, "I was too weak when I gave birth to you, and I almost couldn't make it. You uncle was the one who brought the Imperial physician." Feng Wu glanced at Feng Yinfeng and wondered if that was true. Feng Yinfeng rubbed his hands together and said, "It's been a long time. I didn't think you would remember that." The lady could instinctively tell good from bad, so even she frowned when Feng Yinfeng smiled obsequiously at her. She didn't see many outsiders around, so she told Feng Wu, "You don't have to return the favor if you don't want to." Feng Wu was speechless. She would always return a favor. That was her principle. However, she would be the one to decide how to return it. Feng Wu glanced at Feng Yinfeng. "Is Feng Lu very sick?" Chapter 1259. Are you doing this on purpose? Chapter 1259. Are you doing this on purpose? Feng Yinfeng looked disappointed. 3 groups of doctors have come to see her already. The first was Master Chu. Then the Dugu family sent their doctors. Finally, we had the Imperial physicians over to treat her. He shook his head. They all said that she's beyond saving, both the mother and the baby. Feng Yinfeng wasn't very fond of Feng Lu in the first place, and after this humiliating incident, he would rather see her dead than have the Feng clan's reputation tainted. However, when he saw how much Dugaming she cared for Feng Lu, Feng Yinfeng saw hope again. That teenager was one of the heirs to the Dugu family. Empress Dugu herself belonged to that family. If Feng Lu could marry into that family, would the Feng clan's status rise with her? Because of that, Feng Yinfeng had come to ask for Feng Wu's help. Feng Wu didn't want to go, but since she owed him a favor, she may as well return it now. At that thought, Feng Wu gave Feng Yinfeng a nod. "All right, I'll go, but I can't make any promises." "Of course, I understand." Hence, they all headed for Parasol Yard. Parasol Yard used to belong to Feng Wu, but Feng Lu had taken it after Feng Wu left the Imperial capital. She looked around when she walked into the yard and realized that the layout was the same, but the decorations had been changed completely. This place looked nothing like it used to. Feng Lu's screams kept coming out of the bedchamber. Outside, a few white-bearded old men were sulking. Feng Yinfeng frowned. "What's going on?" Master Chu shook his head. "We're running out of ideas. Master Gu is inside now. I hope he'll know what to do." Master Gu was the Imperial physician sent here by the royal family. Just then, there was another scream, so loud that it seemed to tear the roof open. It was so blood-curdling that it even gave all the men outside the creeps. The door opened at that moment, and a middle-aged doctor came out. "Master Gu," asked Feng Yinfeng eagerly, "how's my daughter doing?" Master Gu was rather polite toward Feng Yinfeng, for the minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel was a rather high-ranking official. "Master Feng, it's not that I'm an inadequate doctor, but your daughter's injury is so severe that I can't stop the bleeding. There really isn't anything I can do. I'm sorry for your loss." Master Gu cupped his hands at Feng Yinfeng and was ready to leave. "No." Feng Yinfeng was baffled. How could it be so serious? Feng Wu frowned. "Master Gu, are you saying that both the mother and the baby will die?" Master Gu glanced at Feng Wu and wondered who she was and what made her think she could speak to him. He had always been an arrogant man, and he didn't try to hide his attitude. Feng Wu only frowned. "That's not right. The baby may die, but Feng Lu will definitely live." After that, she was about to enter the bedchamber. Master Gu's face darkened. What did this girl mean by that? Was she questioning his competence? Master Gu wasn't going to leave anymore. Instead, he stared at Feng Wu with a grim look in his eyes. "You ignorant child. That was your madness speaking." Feng Wu glanced at him. "My madness speaking? Master Gu, why are you so angry? Are you feeling guilty now? Wait, are you trying to kill Feng Lu?" Chapter 1260. He needs to be needed. Chapter 1260. He needs to be needed. Who the hell is this girl? Master Gu's face darkened, and he wasn't the only one with that reaction. Feng Wu only snorted inwardly. She couldn't care less about Feng Lu's baby, but if Feng Lu died today, people would blame her for it. And when that happened, Zhuo Qingyu's plan would have worked, and no one would believe Feng Wu. At that thought, Feng Wu narrowed her eyes and warned Master Gu, "I hope your diagnosis will withstand my scrutiny." You? Master Gu was so angry that his beard bristled. Feng Wu ignored him and quickly went into the bedchamber. She was very familiar with the room, because she used to sleep here for years. However, the layout and decorations had completely changed by now. Feng Lu lay on the big bed. Her pale face was covered in a cold sweat, and her breathing was so weak that one could barely detect it. Du Mingxi sat next to the bed and held her hand tightly. The rims of his eyes were red, and it was obvious that he had been crying. Apart from Du Mingxi, two other fiercing-looking old maids were in the room as well. One was Granny's son, Feng Lu's old wet nurse, and the other was Granny Chong, Du Mingxi's old maid. Du Mingxi turned around when he heard the footsteps and immediately saw Feng Wu. He immediately flared up and trembled with anger. "How dare you come here? How dare you?" Du Mingxi glared at Feng Wu and pointed at the door. "You're not welcome here. Go away. Now." Feng Wu wasn't alone. Seeing his reaction, Chao Ge and Qiuling immediately blocked Du Mingxi's way. Chao Ge frowned and was furious. "Watch your attitude. You can't talk to Xiao Wu like that." Du Mingxi was so furious that he laughed. He then tried to push Feng Wu out of the room. However, Chao Ge pushed him first. Crash! Du Mingxi fell backward and landed on his back. The pain made him suck in his breath. "Damn it! Granny Chong, kill her!" Du Mingxi was no fighter, but Granny Chong was relentless. However, Feng Wu spoke before the granny could make a move. "Do you hate Feng Lu that much?" "What?" Those words baffled Du Mingxi at first, but he immediately realized what she had said and glared at her. "Bullshit! Of course I don't hate her. I love her more than my own life." Feng Wu glanced at him. "If that's the case, why do you want to see her dead?" That's the first time I've ever heard someone demonstrating their love that way. "Why would I want her dead? You're not making any sense. This is pure slander." Du Mingxi yelled at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled. "I can save Feng Lu, but you're telling me to go away. If I do that, she'll die. You can save her? Ha ha ha." Du Mingxi's eyes were bloodshot red with rage. "You've been bullying her since you were little. You took everything from her, and you're the reason she's lying here. But now, you're telling me that you can save her? That's just preposterous." Feng Wu finally saw why Du Mingxi loved Feng Lu so much. Feng Lu had definitely been playing the helpless bunny around Du Mingxi, making him want to protect her with all his might. Du Mingxi's older sister and brother were both distinguished figures, and he had always been the one protected. Only around Feng Lu did he feel like the tough man he had always wanted to be. As a matter of fact, he needed Feng Lu more than she did him because she made him feel that he was needed. Chapter 1261. Is Feng Wu really that good? Chapter 1261. Is Feng Wu really that good? Feng Wu sighed inwardly after figuring that out and said a silent prayer for the Du family. Still, she had to save Feng Lu. Even if she had to die, she couldn't die now. Feng Wu ignored Du Mingxi and turned to Feng Yinfeng with a frown. "Uncle," she couldn't be bothered to argue with Du Mingxi, so she tossed the ball to Feng Yinfeng. Feng Yinfeng was the one who had asked Feng Wu to come, so he stepped out and told Du Mingxi, "Young man, please back off. Xiao Wu is going to treat Xiao Lu." Du Mingxi stared at Feng Yinfeng in disbelief. "She's going to kill Lu. She'll do it." Feng Yinfeng frowned. He couldn't understand why Du Mingxi could be so stubborn. Just then, Master Gu, who was about to leave, stared at Feng Yinfeng in disbelief as well. "Are you saying that this ignorant girl can save your daughter? That's ridiculous." Feng Yinfeng was furious. "Xiao Lu will have no chance if Xiao Wu doesn't do anything, but Xiao Wu may just be able to save her. Of course you people aren't worried. She's not your daughter." With a sudden wave of his hand, Feng Yinfeng said, "Get out, all of you. Xiao Wu, she's all yours." Feng Yinfeng was the minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel and could be quite intimidating when he flared up. Hence, neither Duga Mengshi nor Master Gu dared to say another word. However, it was obvious that they had a different opinion. Feng Wu ignored all of them and only hurried over to Feng Lu. Feng Lu had lost a lot of blood and was drifting in and out of consciousness. She looked conflicted when she saw Feng Wu. She really thought she was going to die when Master Gu gave his verdict. "Help me. Feng Wu, please help me." Feng Lu grabbed Feng Wu's hand, gripping so hard that blue veins popped on the back of her hand. Feng Wu nodded. "I won't let you die just yet. If she died now, Feng Wu would be the one who was blamed." Without another word, Feng Wu aimed her fair fingers at Feng Lu's belly, and dots of green light appeared on her fingertips. The light then slowly seeped into Feng Lu's belly. Wait a minute. Master Gu, who had been so sure of himself, was staring at Feng Wu in disbelief now. This wasn't happening. How could this be? The girl couldn't be more than 14 years old. How could she be a supreme-level medicine refiner already? "Are you Feng Wu?" Master Gu smacked his thigh and asked the question in astonishment. "Have you heard her name before?" Duga Mengshi stared at Master Gu with a frown. Master Gu nodded repeatedly. "Everyone in the Bureau of Physicians knows her name. Masters-by and He can't stop raving about her. I think Master Chu is the only one who's slightly better than her. When Her Majesty the Empress Dowager became seriously ill the other day, Feng Wu was the one who saved her life in the end." Master Gu had heard of Feng Wu's name before and was very familiar with her achievements. However, he hadn't connected this pretty girl to that name until now. That's right, Feng Wu. Of course, she should be a member of the Feng clan. Smacking his thigh, Master Gu said excitedly, "I admire her ability from the bottom of my heart." Duga Mengshi's eyes widened. Was Feng Wu really that amazing? Chapter 1262, Don't Tell Them. Chapter 1262, Don't Tell Them. Duga Mengshi stared at Feng Wu. "Can you save Lu?" Feng Wu was too busy treating Feng Lu to answer Duga Mengshi's question. Duga Mengshi said hastily, "I'll thank you with a large reward if you can save my girl." Feng Wu still ignored him. Duga Mengshi was about to say something else when Xiaoga pushed him away. "Xiao Wu doesn't need your reward. Be quiet now. If you disturb Xiao Wu and she fails to save Feng Lu, it'll be your fault." Duga Mengshi immediately stopped talking. Meanwhile, Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu with a malicious look in her eyes. She knew that she couldn't keep this child. Duga Mengshi wasn't the father, so if she gave birth to the baby, it would only become a problem in the future. Therefore, she had to take this chance to get rid of the baby. While Feng Wu was still treating Feng Lu, the latter directed her spiritual energy toward her own womb. It was too sudden for anyone to react. "Ah!" Feng Lu screamed. "Feng Wu, you're killing me and my child." Even now, she still tried to frame Feng Wu, because she was convinced that no matter how unreasonable she was, Feng Wu wouldn't let her die, at least not now. Feng Wu was in the middle of treating Feng Lu when all that happened. Her hands jolted, and she stepped away involuntarily. "Arg, my baby!" Blood gushed out of Feng Lu's body. Duga Mengshi panicked. But Granny Chong said, "Miss Lu is going to have a miscarriage. Everybody out." Quite a few men were still in the room, and it would be so unpropitious for them to witness a miscarriage. Duga Mengshi wanted to say something else, but his old maid was already pushing him out of the room. As he was being pushed away, Duga Mengshi threatened Feng Wu. "Feng Wu, I'm warning you. If anything happens to Lu, I'm going to kill you. I mean it." Once Duga Mengshi left the room, Feng Lu finally realized that something wasn't right, because Feng Wu was looking down at her with a smile and kept her arms crossed. Feng Lu panicked. "Feng Wu, are you not going to save me?" She knew she would die if she kept bleeding like this. Crossing her arms, Feng Wu leaned on a pillar and looked sympathetically at Feng Lu. "Since you're so eager to die, I'm going to make your wish come true." "Feng Wu, you." Feng Lu was finally scared. Brandishing her arms, she cried out, "Help me! Feng Wu, please don't let me die." Feng Wu only smiled. Didn't you just kill your baby on purpose? Why would a mother do such a thing? She moved closer, bent over, and whispered in her ear, "Is it because of the child's father?" Feng Wu. Because of the pain, Feng Lu was covered in a cold sweat, and she could feel a chill run down her spine. What about the baby? Du Mingxi's old maid was still in the room, and she frowned when she heard Feng Wu. What's wrong with the baby? Feng Lu gave Feng Wu a pleading look. Don't say it. Please don't. If you tell her the truth, the reputation of the entire Feng clan will be ruined. Chapter 1263. I hope she won't do anything stupid. Chapter 1263. I hope she won't do anything stupid. Feng Wu only smiled when she saw the pleading look in Feng Lu's eyes. Nothing. I have no doubt that young Master Dugu is the father. Who else would be so desperate? Feng Wu didn't give a straight answer, which only made Granny Chong more suspicious. She gave Feng Lu a strange look. The girl had been all about saving the baby a moment ago, but now... Feng Wu's face was expressionless when she looked at Feng Lu. She knew that the baby was the result of incest, and she had examined the baby already. It was abnormal. To be more precise, it was... She looked at Feng Lu. Do you want to live? It's quite simple. Get through this, and you'll live. What was this? Something began to come out of Feng Lu at that moment. Thinking that it was the fetus, Feng Lu's maid immediately fetched a clean spittoon with some hot water in it and put it between Feng Lu's legs. Thump! There was a tiny splash. The splashing sound went on, and it was quite scary. That didn't sound right. If it was the fetus, one splash would have been enough. What was everything else? Granny Sun took the spittoon and observed the contents in the light. After everything she had seen in the Feng clan after so many years, Granny Sun still fell to the ground in fright when she saw what was inside. She dropped the spittoon, and the things inside fell out. Arg! What? Granny Chong gagged when she saw what they were. It was no baby, but something which resembled a cluster of grapes. They were flesh-colored balls, and there were as many as over 50 of them. It was such a frightening sight. Oh God, that's the child of a devil. That's pure evil. Granny Chong was shaking from head to toe, and she pointed at Feng Lu, saying, "You're cursed by the devil." She ran out the door after saying those words. Feng Lu was dumbfounded, looking from the grape-like objects to Granny Chong, who had run out of the room to report to her master. Feng Lu fainted. Feng Wu darted a glance at the pale-faced Feng Lu and headed for the door. "Miss Wu," Granny's son called after Feng Wu. "Miss Wu, is Miss Lu going to be all right?" Feng Wu said indifferently, "It'll depend on how lucky she is." She then walked out of the room. Feng Yinfeng was about to ask Feng Wu how things went when he saw her, but Feng Wu waved at him first. "Uncle, I think you should take care of those grapes first. Something like this couldn't be kept a secret for long, and word would soon get out." Grapes? Feng Yinfeng didn't know what she meant until he saw the overturned spittoon on the floor. Chaoga only heaved a sigh of relief after they returned to Fallen Star Yard. "Xiao Wu, do you think Feng Lu will survive this time?" Feng Wu smiled a little. "Do you want her alive or dead?" Tilting her head, Chaoga said, "Feng Lu really is very annoying, and I've often wished that she could disappear from this world for good, but she can't die yet." Chilling nodded as well. "Miss Lu has to live, and we have to spread the news, telling everyone that Miss Wu saved her. If she offends Miss Wu again, she'll be seen as the most ungrateful person." Feng Wu chuckled. "I don't need her to thank me, but..." Feng Lu couldn't die yet, so Feng Wu hoped that her sister wouldn't do anything stupid. Just then, Chapter 1264, The Fourth Trial. Chapter 1264, The Fourth Trial. Just then, something clicked in Feng Wu's head, and she realized that the fairy was talking to her. "Hey you." The fairy gave Feng Wu a strange look. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. "What now? Do you have a new task for me?" The fairy said, "Yes, it's the fourth trial." "But..." Feng Wu asked, "But what?" The fairy put on a long face. "But it's kind of long." Feng Wu asked, "What's that supposed to mean?" The fairy thought for a moment before she asked, "Are you sure you want to hear it?" Feng Wu was speechless. What do you think? The fairy looked sympathetically at Feng Wu when she said, "For the fourth trial, you'll have to become a top 10 Year 2 student. Make Jun Lin Yuan change his opinion about you. Cheer him up, and make him call you his lovely little fool of his own free will." Feng Wu was speechless. The fairy buried her face in her hands. "Don't hit me. I have nothing to do with the design of the task." Feng Wu took a deep breath. The fairy was right. It was a very long task, so long that it almost made her lose control. Became a top 10 Year 2 student? The corner of Feng Wu's mouth twitched. She was the top student of Year 1 now, but she had only just gotten in, so she hadn't thought about skipping a grade yet. However, she said, "It's doable. I can just go talk to Grand Secretary Fong." Lucky for her, she had been on friendly terms with Grand Secretary Fong from the beginning, and he would always help her when something came up in Imperial College. Chaoga and Xioling noticed Feng Wu sitting there absent-mindedly for a while before she got to her feet. Chaoga was bewildered. "Xiao Wu, where are you going?" Feng Wu said, "I just remembered something, and I need to see Grand Secretary Fong now." "What?" Chaoga smacked her own forehead. "I just remembered. Grand Secretary Fong has gone into seclusion." "What?" Feng Wu was dumbfounded. "He did," Chaoga said earnestly. "It was yesterday, and you weren't around. Grand Secretary Fong sent us a message, saying that he'll be out in 10 days. Feng Wu immediately asked the fairy, "What's the time limit for this trial?" The fairy said, 10 days. Feng Wu was speechless. That was to say, her time would be up when Grand Secretary Fong came out of seclusion. What an unfortunate coincidence. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead in frustration. Since all her previous trials had been completed in such a hurry, she decided that she was going to start early this time. She told the other two girls, "I'm going to Imperial College." Without Grand Secretary Fong's help, she could still get into Year 2 herself. "Xiao Wu, are you going to school now?" Chaoga asked curiously. Feng Wu chuckled. "No, I'm going to skip a grade." "What?" Even Chaoga was surprised. "Why so sudden?" Feng Wu chuckled. "I'll become a Year 2 student sooner or later, won't I? Without you, what fun will Year 1 be?" "Xiao Wu, I'm going to Year 2 with you," Chaoga said earnestly as she took Feng Wu's hand. Feng Wu nodded after some thought. "At your current cultivation level, you might be pushing your limits a little if you try to get into Year 2 now, but it's always worth trying." Hence, the two of them went to Imperial College together. The office of the chief of Year 1. "What? You want to skip a grade to Year 2? Chief, you stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. "Are you sure about that?" Chapter 1265, Difficulty. Chapter 1265, Difficulty. Feng Wu nodded. "I'm sure." Chief, you frowned. "You're capable enough to go to Year 2, but Grand Secretary Fong isn't here at the moment, and no one can approve your application. Is there another way?" Feng Wu asked. "Chief, you said, if the chief of Year 2 agrees and you can pass their formation trial, you'll be allowed to skip grades. No one will be able to stop you then." Hearing that there was another way, Feng Wu nodded with a smile. "I'll try it then." Chief, you gave her a strange look. "Aren't you going to ask me who the chief of Year 2 is?" The question itself was enough to suggest that the chief of Year 2 had to be someone special. Feng Wu asked, "Who is it?" Chief, you said quietly, "He's Chief Chiao." "Chiao?" Feng Wu hesitated before asking, "Is this person related to Miss Chiao Yi?" Chief, you gave Feng Wu a solemn nod. "He's Chiao Yi's father." Feng Wu was amazed by the unfortunate coincidence. Chief, you smiled. "Do you see the difficulty that you're facing now?" Feng Wu was speechless. "Miss you? How can you still smile?" Chief, you was still smiling. "Now that Mr. Fong isn't here, I'd like to see you defeat Chief Chiao. I should tell you that his daughter is everything to him, and he dotes on her. Otherwise, she would never have become such an arrogant person." Feng Wu said, "Chief, you said, he personally walked Xiao Yi into our office and made sure we all heard him. If anyone dares to pick on his baby girl, he'll stop at nothing to get revenge for her." Chief, you smiled at Feng Wu after she said those words. Feng Wu had greatly offended Xiao Yi, not to mention that she had slapped her. That was some serious offense by Xiao Yi's standards. Rubbing her forehead, Feng Wu was a little frustrated. Chief Yu reminded her out of kindness. Would you like to wait until Mr. Fong comes back? I'm sure he'll help you. Feng Wu smiled bitterly. She would love to wait for Grand Secretary Fong to come back, but her task wouldn't let her. She gave Chief Yu a wry smile. Miss you. Can you tell me exactly what I need to do? Chief Yu had always liked Feng Wu, not to mention that Grand Secretary Fong had left instructions that she should help Feng Wu whenever she could. Hence, she carefully talked Feng Wu through the process before telling her, you'll also have to fill in an application form and have your class teacher sign it. Feng Wu didn't see that coming. Chow, he had to sign it. Could it get any more difficult? However, she had to complete the task, and she didn't have much of a choice. Feng Wu could only ask, where's Miss Chow now? Glancing at the class schedule, Chief Yu said, she's teaching the new Year 1 students now. If you go to the new student quarter now, I'm sure you'll find her there. As for if she would sign Feng Wu's form, Chief Yu shook her head inwardly. She prayed that those two wouldn't start a fight again. Turning around, Feng Wu saw that Chaoga wasn't there. She realized that the girl must be bored and had gone out to play. So, she filled in a form for Chaoga as well. Chaoga is going to skip grades, too? Chief Yu was shocked. Feng Wu nodded. That's right. She's with me. Chief Yu was surprised. You're the top student on the Year 1 billboard, and students like Rong Shixin or Si Yuan aren't your match. But Chaoga... Chapter 1266. He used to belittle Feng Wu. Chapter 1266. He used to belittle Feng Wu. Chaoga hadn't taken the test either, and like Feng Wu, her name wasn't on the billboard. Feng Wu smiled. Miss you, please don't worry. Grand Secretary Fong is teaching Chaoga himself, and she's been making progress at an incredible speed. Since Grand Secretary Fong was teaching Xiaoqi, Feng Wu had asked him to include Chaoga in his classes as well, since it wouldn't make any difference to him. While Feng Wu was busy with her trials, Chaoga and Xiaoqi had been making huge progress in their cultivation. These people at Imperial College would be astonished when they saw what they had achieved. Chief Yu had no idea what was going on in Feng Wu's head, and there was no way she could know how capable Chaoga was. She was about to speak when quick footsteps came from outside. Chief Yu, please come. Some students have broken into a fight. Involuntarily, Chief Yu glanced at Feng Wu, wondering who else could have started a fight when Feng Wu was here in the office. What happened? Chief Yu stared at the student. Feng Wu recognized the student. His name was Guan Shan, and he was from Universe Court. Guan Shan glanced at Feng Wu and hesitated. That struck Feng Wu as odd, and she wondered if it had something to do with her. Answer my question, Chief Yu prompted. Guan Shan said hastily, Duan Chaoga and Tao Yu had a quarrel that turned into a fight. Duan Chaoga hit Tao Yu, so Guan Jing went to help Tao Yu, then Duan Chaoga hit her as well. Guan Shan could still remember how intimidating Duan Chaoga was. The way she punched Tao Yu and kicked Guan Jing made many senior students go pale. She was only Duan Chaoga, not Feng Wu. What was wrong with the newbies this year? Why were they so unbelievably capable? Are you telling me that Chaoga hit both Guan Jing and Tao Yu? Chief Yu looked shocked. She had been questioning Chaoga's capability just a moment ago, and now here was proof to the contrary. Both Guan Jing and Tao Yu were senior Year 1 students who were ranked in the top 100 on the billboard, but the two of them couldn't even defeat Chaoga together. Are you talking about Feng Sang's two friends? Feng Wu recognized the two names. She remembered that every time she ran into Feng Sang, those two girls would start taunting her before Feng Sang spoke, which was why Feng Wu remembered who they were. Yes, them. Guan Shan nodded at Feng Wu. As a senior student, he used to look down on Feng Wu as well. However, ever since she defeated Xin Yuan Yi in the duel, he began to feel reverence in her presence. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu asked indifferently, so what if she did hit them? Guan Shan pulled a long face. It wouldn't be a problem if she had hit someone else, but Tao Yu's brother Tao, who is a Year 2 student, and she's run to him for help. A Year 2 student? Feng Wu was looking for an opportunity to get in touch with one, and voila, here he was. Feng Wu said goodbye to Chief Yu, then headed for Universe Court with Guanshan. The courtyard was crowded when Feng Wu arrived. Everyone from both Universe Court and Blue Cloud Court was there after hearing the news. Chaoga stood in the middle, as everyone whispered among themselves around her. Chapter 1267. She's doomed for sure. Chapter 1267. She's doomed for sure. Is she Duan Chaoga, the new student this year who's been hanging around Feng Wu? That's her all right. Wasn't she a butterball before? She's so pretty now. She was poisoned back then. Feng Wu helped her get rid of the toxin, and she's transformed from a 100 kilograms fatso to a 40 kilograms cutie. I heard Tao Yu's brother has a thing for pretty girls. I'm sure he'll cut Duan Chaoga some slack when he sees her pretty face. Don't be too sure about that. You weren't here just then, but Duan Chaoga was relentless. Tao Yu's face is all swollen, and you can see the handprint Duan Chaoga left on her cheek. Chaoga isn't to be blamed for everything, you know. You weren't here, but Tao Yu said some pretty mean things. She wouldn't stop insulting Feng Wu. I don't think this will end well. Tao Yu's brother is said to be a very irascible guy with a gang of his own known as Tigerhead. It's quite influential among the Year 2 students. The Year 1 and Year 2 students have lived in peace all this time, but I think something big is about to happen. Just then, there were aggressive footsteps in the distance. No, that's Tao Yu. That stalwart young man next to her must be her brother. Tao Yu has 5 people with him. Their eyes are glowing. You can tell how capable they are. Oh God, Chaoga is so dead. Instantly, everyone began to give Chaoga sympathetic looks. The group of people arrived at Universe Court in no time. Thump! Tao Yu kicked the front gate of Universe Court open. The rumble resonated in the air. The Year 1 students felt a ringing in their ears and pain in their heads. Everyone paled. How impressive! Year 2 students were indeed very capable. That made sense. It would take most students 10 years to make it from Year 1 to Year 2, and one could learn a lot in those 10 years. Almost every student backed away when Tao Yu entered, creating a path wide enough for 3 people to walk through shoulder to shoulder. Brother, there's Duan Chaoga. Tao Yu was still crying, her face so swollen that she reminded one of Pig. Seeing the sorry state his baby sister was in, Tao Yu was furious. He charged out even before Tao Yu was done speaking. With a heavy cape over his shoulders, he cut quite an imposing figure as he walked. He quickly approached Duan Chaoga. Such a pretty girl. That was the first thing Tao Yu thought of when he saw Chaoga. But his rage took over, and he stared at her. Are you the one who hurt Tao Yu? Chaoga never cowered in front of anyone. Staring back at Tao Yu, she said coldly, Yes, but it's none of your business. She admitted it outright. Covering her swollen cheek with her hand, Guanjing grinned maliciously. Duan Chaoga, since you dare admit it, be prepared to take Tao Yu's rage. The students in the crowd were all scared at what might happen to Chaoga next. How could she be so dumb? Why did she admit it? Chapter 1268, Untitled. Chapter 1268, Untitled. Tao Yu stared at Duan Chaoga. I see. I don't fight women, though. Lung Hu, you do it. Lung Hu was the only female member of Tigerhead. She stepped out at the boss's order. Lung Hu wore a short fur coat made from white fox and a plain black skirt. Her face was expressionless, and her eyes were as cold as ice. She was everything her name suggested. As soon as she stepped out, she charged at Chaoga without another word. She moved as fast as a white fox. It was so fast, all anyone could see was a flash of white light, and the next second, Lung Hu was in front of Chaoga. It was so fast. She was a level 6 spiritual grandmaster at least. Chaoga was a level 5 spiritual grandmaster. She was inferior in cultivation ability, but the gap wasn't unsurpassable. She was the fearless type, and even a stronger opponent wouldn't intimidate her. Thump, thump, thump. They exchanged a few blows before both landed on the ground. Chaoga stumbled back 7 steps, but Lung Hu stopped after 3. She smirked. You're too weak to fight me. Die! Before Chowga had time to react, Lung Hu struck out again. Thump! 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 Both spared no effort when they struck. The crowd all watched with wide-open, unblinking eyes. Most people felt certain that Duan Chowga was going to be defeated. They believed that a new Year 1 student could never win against a Year 2 student. What was more, Duan Chowga had been losing ground from the very beginning. Thump! Chowga was caught off guard, and Lung Hu stabbed her in the shoulder with her sword. The pain made Chowga pale a little and draw on her breath. Despite her injury, she fought even harder. As time went by, Chowga suffered from even more injuries, and the dots of blood looked like plum blossoms on her dress. There were as many as 13 of them. Duan Chowga is going to lose. She has so many cuts on her. If she doesn't stop, she'll bleed to death. Year 2 students are so much better than us. Duan Chowga has already defended her honor by withstanding Lung Hu's attack for so long. That's right. Her smartest choice now is to stop fighting and apologize. Almost everyone agreed that Chowga was going to lose, and they all thought that she should apologize. Among the senior Year 1 students, Feng Sang and Yi Yifei were gloating over Chowga's predicament. But Duan Chowga had no intention of doing that. Even when blood was oozing from her wounds, and even when each breath she took pained her, she still went on fighting. She never believed in giving up. Are you going to admit your defeat or not? Lung Hu's blade rested on Chowga's fair neck. Chowga smirked. Admit my defeat? In your dreams. Die then. Lung Hu flipped her sword around and aimed the tip of the blade at Chowga's neck. But before she could give the final blow, Chowga caught the sharp blade with both hands. Oh God, look at Duan Chowga's hands. She's holding the blade with her bare hands. Does she want to ruin them? Everyone watched as blood ran down Duan Chowga's palms and dripped onto the ground. Drip, drip. Chapter 1269, Untitled. Chapter 1269, Untitled. That was the sound of her blood dripping on the ground. It sounded so painful. Even Lung Hu looked astonished, let alone the audience. She might be relentless herself, but she knew she couldn't see herself bleed without so much as a frown like Chowga. That was the chance Chowga had been waiting for. While Lung Hu was distracted, Chowga took a deep breath and shifted suddenly while activating her spiritual energy. Chowga dashed out and reappeared behind Lung Hu. She had used Phoenix Dance, the move that Feng Wu had taught her. She hadn't mastered it yet, but it was more than enough to handle a distracted Lung Hu. The next second, Chowga was no longer in front of Lung Hu when the latter came back to her senses. All of a sudden, she felt something cold on her neck. A streak of cold energy ran up her leg, then her spine. Shit! When Lung Hu realized what had happened, it was already too late. The blade of Chowga's dagger was on Lung Hu's neck. Chowga's hands were still bleeding, and the warm blood ran down Lung Hu's neck into her clothes. Lung Hu, the nonchalant and arrogant girl, felt terrified for the very first time. Are you willing to admit your defeat? Chowga smirked. The crowd stared at Chowga in disbelief. That was incredible. She had been losing ground from the very start, but had grabbed the opportunity to turn things around. A short distance away, Tao Hu looked infuriated when he saw this. Lung Hu snorted. You want me to admit my defeat? That's never going to happen. Chowga asked. Aren't you afraid that I'll kill you? Lung Hu sneered. You wouldn't dare. Chowga didn't reply, but only pressed the dagger down. Whoosh! It was the sound of the blade cutting open flesh. Everyone's eyes widened. They saw that Chowga had really cut Lung Hu's neck. Blood immediately oozed out. Lung Hu felt a chill go down her spine. How dare she? Damn it! Stop! With a grim look on his face, Tao Hu glared at Chowga. She's lost, so let her go. Chowga smiled. Then, two crisp, cracking sounds resounded in the air. Duan Chowga. Everyone watched as Chowga broke both of Lung Hu's arms. Chowga smirked. She hurt me with those arms. What's wrong with a little revenge? Well, technically there was nothing wrong with what she did, but Everyone was concerned for Duan Chaoga's safety. By the looks of it, Lung, who was only the weakest member of Tiger Head, and there were 4 more of them, wasn't she afraid of their revenge? As expected, there was a flash of red light, and someone grabbed Lung Hu. "Sister Hu, are you all right? How do you feel?" It was a teenager in a red robe. A lock of red hair fell over his forehead, which was quite eye-catching. "It's Gu Honglang." Gu Honglang? As in the one who fought his way into Dragon's Teeth all by himself and decapitated the leader of those bandits? Yes, him. I didn't know he was a member of Tiger Head, though. Oh God, Duan Chaoga is so dead this time. Everyone gave Duan Chaoga sympathetic looks, and some even hinted at her to run away while she still could. Chapter 1270, A Ball of Light. Chapter 1270, A Ball of Light. Gu Honglang held Lung Hu with one hand, and it pained him to see her like this. After examining Lung Hu's arms, he was infuriated. A storm seemed to brew in his eyes. "Sister Hu, the bones in your arms are broken, and I'm afraid it'll hurt. But don't worry, I'll make her pay for this." Gu Honglang gave Lung Hu to Tao Hu before he walked up to Duan Chaoga. He was very tall, at least 15 centimeters taller than Chaoga. There was a murderous look in his eyes as he looked down at Chaoga, and his voice was as cold as ice. "Are you going to do it yourself? Or do I have to do it for you?" His tone was relentless. Gu Honglang wanted to kill Duan Chaoga. Everyone's stomachs lurched when they heard this. Shit, this was only supposed to be a squabble between 2 students, not a duel. But now, Gu Honglang wanted to kill Duan Chaoga. That wasn't right at all. Seeing that things were going south, Jin Yuntao and his friends ran off to get help. Some went to look for Feng Wu, and some went to the Crown Prince's residence. Gu Honglang saw them leave, but he didn't care. He stared at Duan Chaoga with such a fierce look in his eyes. Those terrifying eyes reminded the others of an eagle. Many Year 1 students were frightened by the crazy look in Gu Honglang's eyes and stepped back involuntarily. That was so terrifying. However, Duan Chaoga was dauntless. She smirked. "Bring it on. I'm not afraid of you." "Young lady, you're very brave." Gu Honglang gave her an eerie smile and moved suddenly. Before Chaoga could react, he struck out, a blazing ball of light forming between his palms. The great light. Everyone looked astonished, and they all stepped back. Chaoga's stomach lurched as well. Before she could react, that giant ball of light was falling down on her. Shit! Chaoga felt a chill run down her spine. Instinctively, she jumped forward. Thump! The ball smashed into the ground, leaving a deep hollow. Luckily, Chaoga had gotten away in time, or she would have been sucked into that ball of light. The great light doesn't try to crush a person, but to suck them into it. Narrowing his eyes, Rong Shixin explained to the others, "Anyone touched by that ball of light will be sucked into it, and when that happens, they'll be rendered defenseless." That's so frightening. Luckily, Duan Chaoga ran away in time. Otherwise, she would have been sucked into it. Look, that ball is rolling after Duan Chaoga. Everybody out of the way. Soon, they fell back another 50 meters or so. The scowling Gu Honglang and fleeing Duan Chaoga were the only people left in the clearing. Oh God, look, that ball. It's grown bigger. Yes, that ball had only been as tall as a person at first, but it was getting bigger and bigger. By now, it was already 2 stories high. The bigger it became, the easier it would be for it to catch Chaoga. Chaoga didn't know what to do. She could sense how terrifying this ball was and had been running as fast as she could, but she simply couldn't get away from it. Chapter 1271, Untitled. Chapter 1271, Untitled. Thump! All of a sudden, Chaoga slipped and fell. By then, the ball of light was only centimeters away from her. The ball rolled over her without hesitation. Chaoga was nowhere to be seen in its wake. OMG, that ball really sucked Duan Chaoga inside. Look, Duan Chaoga is right inside. The ball was transparent, so they could see Chaoga right away. A hurricane suddenly started inside the ball, and it was brutal. Poor Duan Chaoga. The wind threw her around inside the ball, smashing her against its surface. Thud, thud, thud. Her forehead was bleeding, and she had bruises all over her body. In this confined space controlled by Gu Honglang, Chaoga was completely defenseless. The other students were terrified by this and looked at Gu Honglang in awe. That was the difference between a Year 2 and a Year 1 student. The latter would never stand a chance. Thud, thud, thud. Chaoga was still being thrown around, and Gu Honglang's grin became wider. Rong Shixin frowned. He knew that if no one intervened, Duan Chaoga would be tortured to death in less than a minute. As the wind threw her around, her clothes were ripped and her skin began to show. Rong Shixin knitted his eyebrows. As president of the Year 1 students, he couldn't let something like this happen under his watch. Moreover, he recalled what Feng Wu was like. He stepped out and narrowed his eyes as he spoke to Gu Honglang. That's enough. Stop it. All eyes were on Rong Shixin. Seeing Duan Chaoga getting brutally abused, all the Year 1 students felt sympathy for her because it could be any one of them. Now that Rong Shixin had stepped out, they all clenched their fists and began to see a little hope. Gu Honglang didn't see that coming. Glancing at Rong Shixin, he said, "Who are you to talk to me like that?" Frowning, Rong Shixin said calmly, "You can ask Duan Chaoga to apologize or beat her up, but don't you think it's highly inappropriate to treat a girl like this? So, do you want to save her?" Gu Honglang smirked. The next second, he grabbed Rong Shixin and said, "You can go inside with her." Rong Shixin had thought that he was at least as good as Gu Honglang, but he was wrong. Gu Honglang was so fast that he was in front of Rong Shixin before he knew it. Thump! Gu Honglang sealed off Rong Shixin's energy channels as soon as he caught him. After that, he tossed Rong Shixin into the ball. SSSS. Everyone drew in their breaths. How terrifying. Rong Shixin used to be the top student on the billboard. If Feng Wu hadn't risen to the top, he probably would have stayed there for a very long time. However, Rong Shixin couldn't even withstand a single strike from Gu Honglang, and had been tossed into the ball straight away. Gu Honglang was so frightening. If even Rong Shixin couldn't put up a fight, then who could? A hush fell over the crowd, and it was so quiet that one could hear the sound of falling leaves. Since you care about her so much, you can die with her. Gu Honglang grinned maliciously. Chapter 1272, Feng Wu's Power 1. Chapter 1272, Feng Wu's Power 1. Since Chaoga had broken Leng Hu's arms, Gu Honglang decided that he wasn't satisfied with just killing Duan Chaoga. "You're all useless." Gu Honglang glanced at the Year 1 students, not trying to hide the contempt in his eyes. Frustrated by his tone, the Year 1 students clenched their fists and were filled with anger. However, even Rong Shixin didn't stand a chance in front of Gu Honglang, so no one dared to speak up. PHHH. Gu Honglang snorted. Good-for-nothings like you have no right to be angry. He jabbed the forehead of a Year 1 student in front of him with his finger, and his tone was extremely arrogant. "You're all idiots." He kicked a student away. Imperial College was a rigidly stratified society. All Year 2 students were senior to Year 1 students, and it was common for the former to bully the latter. That was so frustrating. The Year 1 students clenched their fists with bloodshot eyes, but no one dared to do anything. The feeling was so awful. "Let's go." Seeing that the fight was over and that he had saved face after helping his sister, Tao Hu was ready to leave with his little gang. However, just then, whoosh, a streak of light flashed past. The giant sturdy ball of light was pierced by a sharp dagger. The fat ball deflated as everyone watched. Duan Chaoga and Rong Shixin rolled out of the ball. Rong Shixin didn't look too bad. He had been sucked in just then and only had a few bruises on him. Duan Chaoga, however, wasn't as lucky. Gu Honglang had tortured her on purpose. As a result, she was covered in cuts and bruises. Feng Wu was filled with rage when she saw the unconscious Duan Chaoga. Feng Wu's here." Feng Wu's arrived. This is going to be good. Many people were reminded of Feng Wu's duel with Xian Yuan the other day. Feng Wu had replaced Rong Shixin and become the top student on the billboard. After carefully examining Chaoga, Feng Wu saw that the wounds were only superficial. They might seem severe, but her internal organs weren't injured. Even so, Feng Wu was still furious. However, the angrier she was, the calmer she appeared. She took out some supreme-level potion and fed it to Chaoga. She then handed Chaoga over to another student. "Please look after her for me," Feng Wu told Gong Sunqing. Gong Sunqing nodded solemnly and supported Chaoga with both hands. "I will." The place had become very quiet, as though a storm was coming. Gu Honglang stared at Feng Wu with sharp eyes. That ignorant girl sabotaged his great light. How interesting. Gu Honglang stood where he was while Feng Wu walked toward him, moving as nimbly as a cat. She stopped in front of him. Their eyes met. Gu Honglang couldn't hide the surprise in his eyes when he saw her face. "What a pretty girl. Who are you?" Gu Honglang stared at Feng Wu with narrowed eyes. Year 1 and Year 2 had different living quarters and hardly ever talked to each other. To be more precise, Year 2 students didn't care what happened in Year 1 at all. Chapter 1273, Feng Wu's Power 2. Chapter 1273, Feng Wu's Power 2. Feng Wu answered Gu Honglang in an indifferent voice. "I'm Feng Wu." "Feng Wu? Never heard that name." Gu Honglang's face remained expressionless. Feng Wu smirked. "You'll soon remember it." Feng Wu struck out before Gu Honglang could react. Boom! Feng Wu punched Gu Honglang in the face. Thump! Caught off guard, Gu Honglang was hit in the nose. Blood gushed out, and he stumbled back. Holy shit! Everyone was astonished. Feng Wu had really hit Gu Honglang. Gu Honglang himself was more shocked than anyone else. He stared at Feng Wu in disbelief, and his bloodshot eyes popped. This ignorant girl had just hit him. Damn you! Gu Honglang looked furious. The next second, he tried to grab Feng Wu with both hands, moving as fast as a cheetah. He didn't care how good-looking the girl was anymore. He had to save his dignity first. But, to Gu Honglang's surprise, Feng Wu was even faster. She was already charging at him before he could get to her, and her spiritual essence devoured him like a tidal wave. Thump! Feng Wu's fist landed on his face again. If Gu Honglang was caught off guard the first time, what about now? Thump! 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 Feng Wu's fists landed repeatedly on his face like a thunderstorm. 10, 20, 30 times. She didn't give Gu Honglang any chance to fight back, and he was completely dumbfounded. In her infuriated state, Feng Wu was exerting all her strength. With each punch, she would do some more damage to Gu Honglang's body with her spiritual essence. Stop! Tao Hu couldn't bring himself to continue watching any longer. He thought Gu Honglang had been too careless at first, and would soon fight back and defeat Feng Wu. However, to his surprise, Gu Honglang never stood a chance, and was getting beaten to death. Hearing Tao Hu's bellow, Feng Wu kicked Gu Honglang. Thump! The strength she exerted reminded one of an explosion. Tao Hu couldn't believe that Feng Wu could kick like that with her slim leg. Boom! Gu Honglang, who had tortured Rong Shixin and Duan Chaoga relentlessly, had become a defenseless chicken in front of Feng Wu. The impact sent him flying backward. Behind him was a giant rock with sharp edges. If Gu Honglang smashed into it at this speed, he could be killed. Thrusting his right foot against the ground, Tao Hu leapt up and caught Gu Honglang at the last moment. Even so, Gu Honglang was still barely breathing. After handing Gu Honglang to Lung Hu and the other members of his gang, Tao Hu turned around and faced Feng Wu with a fierce look in his eyes. He had to admit that this girl was quite a capable cultivator. So, you're Feng Wu. Because of his sister Tao Yu, Tao Hu had heard of Feng Wu before. However, Tao Yu had only given him the twisted version. Narrowing her eyes, Feng Wu was instinctively on guard when she met Tao Hu's gaze. Tao Hu was also a decent cultivator among the Year 2 students. Because of that, he had always been an intimidating figure to the other students. That's right, I'm Feng Wu. Feng Wu met Tao, whose gaze in a manner that was neither humble nor arrogant. She looked perfectly calm. Chapter 1274, Feng Wu's Power 3. Chapter 1274, Feng Wu's Power 3. No wonder His Royal Highness annulled your marriage contract. The Crown Prince knows better than any of us what you're like. All of Tao Hu's people snickered when they heard that. However, Feng Wu remained unperturbed, as though he wasn't talking about her. Is it a duel, then? Feng Wu asked calmly as she crossed her arms. A duel. Tao Hu laughed. To him, a duel was only for two people with similar cultivation levels, and this ignorant girl wasn't qualified to fight him. I don't do duels. Tao Hu stared at Feng Wu. I only have battles. Feng Wu smirked. So, you want to fight me? Tao Hu nodded solemnly. You're very good for a girl your age. I saw what you did to Gu Honglang, but you're not strong enough to fight me yet. Feng Wu smiled. Is that so? With a wave of his hand, Tao Hu took off his fur cape. He then slowly walked up to Feng Wu and stopped in front of her. Although it feels wrong to kick you around, I still won't cut you loose today. Tao Hu stared at Feng Wu and said, I'll let you make 3 moves first. I won't fight back. You can start now. Feng Wu tried to come up with a quick plan. Tao Hu was indeed a very capable cultivator and probably better than she was. It would be very difficult for her to defeat him. However, he was careless enough to let her make 3 moves first. Feng Wu smiled a little. Sure, I'll defeat you in just 3 moves, because those moves were all she knew. She had only learned the first 3 stances of Fallen Star swordplay. As for the rest of the stances, she would have to wait until her beautiful master woke up again. You're going to defeat me in 3 moves? That's just preposterous. Tao Hu snorted. His friends laughed with him. They all thought that Feng Wu was bragging. Feng Wu sighed inwardly when she recalled her 4th trial, and she asked in a serious tone, What if I can do it? Tao Hu smirked. If you succeed, I'll do whatever you want. That was all she needed to hear. Smiling a little, Feng Wu said, Here we go then. Immediately after that, Flaming Sword appeared in Feng Wu's slender hand. Unfortunately, Fallen Star Sword hadn't been made yet, and Flaming Sword was all she could use for now. Feng Wu sighed in resignation. Her strikes would be at least 50% more powerful if she had Fallen Star Sword. She made a mental note that she should have it made ASAP. But her top priority now was to defeat Tao Hu. He was a very formidable enemy, and he was much stronger than Xin Yuani. In Feng Wu's hand, the flaming sword glowed red and reminded one of a raging fire. An intimidating power surged out of Feng Wu's body and flowed into the sword. It was power strong enough to shake heaven and earth. The first stance of Fallen Star swordplay, Sword of the Other World. Dark clouds suddenly gathered above their heads and soon covered the sky. Then there was a gust of wind. Countless swords flew at Tao Hu. They reminded the others of 1,000 shooting arrows. Tao Hu only stood there and was perfectly composed. He hadn't thought much of Feng Wu until she activated Fallen Star swordplay. She suddenly became much more intimidating and reminded him of an ice queen. Her slim body seemed to contain an energy that was powerful enough to shake the entire world. So, the Year 1 students this year are more interesting than I thought. Tao Hu found Feng Wu a little more worthy of his attention, but still not important enough. Chapter 1275, Feng Wu's Power 4. Chapter 1275, Feng Wu's Power 4. Thump. With flaming sword in her hand, Feng Wu guided the countless swords in Tao Hu's direction. Their movements seemed to shake heaven and earth. The crowd all held their breaths for Feng Wu. Most of the audience were Year 1 students, and they were still feeling frustrated at being humiliated by these Year 2 students. They were hoping that Feng Wu could avenge them. Thump. Feng Wu was using the first stance of Fallen Star swordplay, Sword of the Other World. And Tao Hu was hit. Wow, the others cried out in surprise. Feng Wu hit him. So, Feng Wu still stand a chance, doesn't she? Maybe she can win. They were all feeling excited when Tao Hu guffawed. When they turned to look at Tao Hu, they realized that, although he had taken a hit, the sword didn't penetrate his defensive shield. That was to say, Tao Hu hadn't suffered any injury. Ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. All of Tao Hu's friends laughed. That was the real difference between Year 1 and Year 2 students. Tao Yu had been a little worried at first, but she wasn't anymore when she saw this. Tao Hu gave Feng Wu a taunting look. It's not too late to kneel and admit your defeat now. I can still spare your life. Immediately, all eyes were on Feng Wu. She couldn't even break his defense, which was proof enough of the difference between their capabilities. There was no point in continuing the fight. All the Year 1 students felt sorry for her. The difference was simply so huge that they were filled with despair. Xiao Wu, even the dauntless Chaoga, who had just woken up, tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve and gave her a pleading look. Please stop fighting. You won't win, and you'll only be humiliated. No one had any hope for Feng Wu, and everyone thought that she was going to lose. However, Feng Wu smirked. The second stance of Fallen Star's swordplay, Dancing Dragon in the Moonlight. A fire dragon shot out a flaming sword and flew at Tao Hu. Because her first stance wasn't able to break Tao Hu's defense, he didn't think much of her second stance either. How are you going to hurt me when you can't even break my defense? Tao Hu stood there without moving an inch and had even crossed his hands behind his back. It was obvious that he wasn't going to do anything. Meanwhile, the Year 1 students all looked forward to Feng Wu's second move. If she could break his defense this time, she might have a chance. But, thump! The fire dragon charged out, moving as swiftly as a ghost, and the energy it gave off reminded one of a volcano. The impact seemed to twist the air. Thump! The dragon finally reached Tao Hu and struck him in the chest. Tao Hu stood there with his hands crossed behind his back as he watched Feng Wu with a taunting look in his eyes. He didn't need to put up a fight, because the fire dragon would never be able to break his defense. Thump! The fire dragon flew across the yard like a gust of wind and smashed into his chest. Boom! Tao Hu seemed to be covered by an invisible defensive shield, and when the fire dragon crashed into it, small cracks which looked like a spider web appeared on the shield. However, Chapter 1276, Feng Wu's Power, 5. Chapter 1276, Feng Wu's Power, 5. The defensive shield remained intact until the fire dragon disappeared. Ha ha ha! Tao Hu guffawed. His friends laughed until they were in tears. How could she possibly think that she could defeat our boss? She's so ridiculous. She can't even break his defense, but she's still bragging about winning. Where did she get all that confidence? They were only attacking Feng Wu at first, but soon they started criticizing all the Year 1 students. Look at their billboard. The top student is called Feng Wu. So, she's the strongest student in Year 1. Are they so weak nowadays? Even their top student is so weak. Year 1 students are no longer what they used to be. Do you remember what we were like? Feng Wu and the other Year 1 students heard all their comments. Many students felt so humiliated it was like they had been slapped in the face. They all stared at Tao Hu with bloodshot eyes. Tao Hu and his friends only smirked arrogantly and dared them to challenge the Year 2 students. Feng Wu remained unperturbed in the face of their taunts. The third stance of Fallen Star's swordplay, Fatal Thunder. Thunder rumbled and lightning flashed in the sky as soon as she said those words. However, the Year 2 students only guffawed. What? She still hasn't given up? She'll keep going if she can't break his defense. What's her problem? The Year 1 students were also giving Feng Wu strange looks. They felt so humiliated by the taunting words. Feng Wu, get down from there already. You can't break his defense, so what good can you do? You're only humiliating yourself. Get down and admit your defeat. That was so humiliating. The Year 1 students were divided into two groups. The reasonable ones knew that the Year 2 students were the culprits. but the unreasonable ones were blaming Feng Wu for their humiliation. But no matter what other people said, Feng Wu remained calm and was perfectly composed. Did Tao Hu think that she couldn't break his defense? Feng Wu smirked inwardly. In fact, only she knew that she hadn't used her full power in the first two strikes. She had been pretending to be weaker than she really was. Tao Hu was indeed a capable cultivator, and Feng Wu wasn't sure that she could win if she fought him fair and square. So, she had shown weakness on purpose and made him think that she was too weak to break through his defense. That way, he would underestimate her and let his guard down. And now, Feng Wu knew that it was time. She smiled. No one saw the lightning flickering in her palm. "Go, fatal thunder!" Feng Wu shouted. An intimidating energy rushed toward Tao Hu. Tao Hu smirked. So did his friends. They laughed at the arrogant little girl and decided to defeat her once and for all once she had completed her 3 moves. Chapter 1277. Feng Wu's Power 6. Chapter 1277. Feng Wu's Power 6. Rumble. The energy was more powerful than the 2 previous strikes put together, and all of it smashed against Tao Hu. Tao Hu felt a burning sensation run through him. But, is that all you can do? Ha ha ha. Tao Hu guffawed, and his laughter resounded in the air. Behind him, the other members of Tiger Head laughed as well. The Year 1 students had been a little hopeful before, but now they were filled with despair. They lost all hope. There was nothing left to say. However, right at that moment, all of a sudden, there was a shrill sound amidst the rumbling thunder. Bang! It was so loud that it seemed to shake the sky. Everyone jumped, and they all looked in the direction of the sound. It came from where Tao Hu had been standing. He had been laughing only a second ago, but now he stood there with blood running out of all his orifices. He was completely dazed, as though he had just seen the most terrifying thing in his life. However, the only person in front of him was Feng Wu, the pretty girl, but they could see fear in Tao Hu's eyes. Fear. Why would Feng Wu, the Year 1 student who couldn't break through his defense, scare him so much? Just then, crackle, crackle, crackle. There was a strange sound. Where was it coming from? Before they knew it, everyone was looking for the source of that sound. Soon, someone cried out, "Look at Tao Hu!" Everyone turned to look at Tao Hu and saw that he was surrounded by flashes of lightning. Was there a thunderstorm raging inside him? But Feng Wu hadn't been able to break through his defense, had she? So how did the lightning get into his system? Everyone was astonished. And the Year 1 students weren't alone. The members of Tiger Head had been gloating before, but they couldn't help but panic a little now. Because Tao Hu just stood there without moving. The crackling sound kept coming out of him, as well as the smell of something burning. It was as though Tao Hu was being cooked from inside out by lightning. It was so scary. Tao Yu ran over to him first. She grabbed him and asked anxiously, "Brother, what's WR?" But before she could finish her question, her hand was stuck to Tao Hu, and she could feel the terrifying electric current surging toward her. The next second, it was inside her. That hurt. Instantly, Tao Yu felt her head go blank, and she drew in a pained breath. She wanted to put her hand down, but realized that she no longer had control over her body. More lightning energy kept pouring into her from Tao Hu's body. "Help!" Tao Yu burst into tears. Lung Hu ran up to her and tried to separate them, but as soon as she touched Tao Yu, she was stuck as well. The electric current then ran from Tao Yu to Lung Hu. Shit! However, when Lung Hu realized that something was wrong, she could no longer speak. Gu Honglang had always been fond of Lung Hu, so when he saw her go stiff, he tried to save her. But he only got himself stuck to the others. The other 2 members of Tiger Head were so scared and unable to look away. Chapter 1278. The Smart Plan. Chapter 1278. The Smart Plan. They all stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. "What did you do? Let them go now." Only then did the Year 1 students realize what had happened. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Oh God, am I dreaming? Feng Wu did that to Tao. I thought she couldn't break his defense at first. But Tao, who is under her control now, isn't he? I think she did more than that. Just look at all those people there. How did she do it? How? Immediately, everyone was talking excitedly. They had been so miserable a moment ago, but that feeling had just been replaced with excitement. Feng Wu had won, and she represented all the Year 1 students. No words could begin to describe that feeling. However, Feng Wu remained as composed as ever. She slowly walked up to Tao Hu and smiled at him. Meanwhile, Tao Hu was so frustrated that he almost had a nervous breakdown. If he could, he would love to punch Feng Wu in the face. He was supposed to be so much more powerful than this girl, but he had underestimated her. He really had. Feng Wu had made her first 2 strikes very flashy, but with limited impact, which gave Tao Hu the impression that she wasn't strong enough to hurt him. Then, in her 3rd strike, she exerted all her strength. That was her true capability. He had let his guard down and walked into her trap. To make it worse, the lightning energy was running through his veins and burning him from within. It was such a strange energy. Tao Hu's body was being destroyed under his very nose. He knew very well that if Feng Wu didn't stop it, he and all his friends would soon all be turned into useless cripples. Feng Wu crossed her arms and asked him with a smile, "Are you willing to admit your defeat now?" At that moment, what choice did Tao Hu have? He glared at Feng Wu with cold eyes that were filled with hatred. Feng Wu only smiled and didn't seem to sense his hatred at all. This damn girl. Feng Wu and Tao Hu didn't exchange a word, but they communicated with their eyes. In the end, Tao Hu gritted his teeth and said, "You win. Brother, you." Tao Hu was so angry that her eyes turned red. Gu Honglang and the others were equally furious. But what other choice did he have? The lightning was still crackling inside him. If this continued, he would end up losing all his cultivation. "I admit my defeat. You win. I misjudged you and underestimated you. I lost." Tao Hu glared at Feng Wu. Even if there was less hatred in his eyes, it was still there. Feng Wu smiled a little. She didn't care how much he hated her. So many people already hated her. Tao Hu would just be one more. Feng Wu nodded. "You've admitted your defeat? Good." Then, with a wave of her hand, Feng Wu drew back something that resembled a web made from lightning. Instantly, a weight seemed to be lifted off Tao Hu's shoulders. His knees buckled, and he almost collapsed. Chapter 1279. I hope you won't regret it later. Chapter 1279. I hope you won't regret it later. Brother, the other 2 members of Tiger Head reacted quickly and caught Tao Hu in time. Tao Hu was covered in his own sweat, as though he had just climbed out of an icy pond. He glared at Feng Wu with eyes filled with hatred. "You brat, I won't forget this." Tao Hu turned to leave after saying those words. "However, I thought we had a deal, but you're leaving just like that. Senior Tao Hu, are you someone who goes back on your word?" Feng Wu chuckled behind him. Tao Hu twitched and had to fight back his impulse to kill Feng Wu right there and then. It was already a great humiliation for him to lose to a Year 1. So what more did this girl want? Tao Hu was shaking with anger as he clenched his fists. "Feng Wu, you're pushing it." Once she regained her freedom, Tao Yu glared at Feng Wu. "You do realize that you'll be in Year 2 one day, don't you?" By that, she meant that the others could get their revenge when Feng Wu was in Year 2. However, Feng Wu only smiled. "That's right. I'll become a Year 2 student, but not that far off in the future." Not that far off in the future. Many people began to give Feng Wu strange looks. After a pause, Feng Wu smiled. "So, my hope of skipping a grade will depend on you lot." Skip a grade? Everyone from both Year 1 and Year 2 were astonished at that statement. Skip a grade? Feng Wu was going to Year 2 right now. The Year 1 student talked among themselves. How long has it been since school started? Why is Feng Wu already planning to skip grades now? But she only just got here. But honestly, if she's good enough to defeat Gu Honglang and Tao Hu, she's good enough to be a Year 2 student. She's not just good enough to be in year 2. If I remember correctly, Tao Hu is ranked 100th in year 2 now. Instantly, everyone fell silent. They remember how they used to laugh at Feng Wu when her name wasn't on the billboard, saying that she had only gotten in because she cheated or because of her connections. But as it turned out, she was already strong enough to go to year 2. Moreover, she would be a capable cultivator there as well. The members of Tiger Head had their own ideas. Tao Hu smirked. He decided that he would let Feng Wu go to year 2. When that happened, he would show her a good time. Do you want to skip grades? There was no warmth in Tao Hu's eyes. Feng Wu smiled. That's right. Senior Tao, won't you welcome me there? Of course I will. Tao Hu smirked. I hope you won't regret your decision. The year 2 students were in a separate quarter known as Initial. There were so many capable cultivators there that Feng Wu wouldn't be able to stand out as much. Feng Wu smiled. So, Senior Tao, are you going to be my guarantor then? Feng Wu had filled in her application, but apart from Chief Chiao's signature, she would also need 5 year 2 students as her guarantors. Tao Hu grinned maliciously. I see. You've only just entered Imperial College and don't know many year 2 students. If I don't sign it, there's no way for you to skip grades. Feng Wu only smiled. Of course she had other ways, it was just that. Chapter 1280, she won. Chapter 1280, she won. If they wouldn't help, she could still make it happen. It would just take a little more effort. Tao Hu smirked. What if we say no? Feng Wu smiled. I see that you've forgotten what you said before the battle. Tao Hu's head went blank. Only then did he recall the deal he made with Feng Wu before they started fighting. He had said in passing that if he lost, he would do as she wanted. Tao Hu glared at Feng Wu and felt utterly frustrated. He realized that she had to have come up with this plan before the battle even started. She had been counting on this deal and had shown weakness on purpose. The whole thing had been a trap, and he had been so pleased with himself the entire time. He had laughed wholeheartedly. The thought made Tao Hu flush. That abominable girl. In the end, Tao Hu and his friends had no choice but to sign Feng Wu's application form. 5 names were needed, and Tiger Head just happened to have 5 members. It was as though they had come here just for Feng Wu. What a coincidence. Here's one more. Feng Wu took out Chaoga's application form. Feng Wu, you're pushing the limit. Tao was about to leave when he was handed the other form. Feng Wu smiled. Well, since all of you are going to sign your names, anyway, one more form won't make any difference. Now just sign it. Poor Lung Hu. Chaoga had crushed her arms earlier, but she still had to sign her name for Chaoga despite the pain. One couldn't begin to describe how frustrated she felt. But Feng Wu won, and their boss admitted his defeat, so what other choice did they have? Tao Hu stormed off with his friends after they signed their names. Only then did the year 1 students realize what had happened. Wow, Feng Wu won. God, she really did. This is the first time a year 1 student has ever defeated a year 2 student, isn't it? I'm so proud of Feng Wu. Tao Hu and his people were so arrogant at first, but Feng Wu defeated them all. She's amazing. She's so amazing. Some of the year 1 students hadn't been convinced by Feng Wu's capability before, but they changed their opinion now. Feng Wu slowly walked up to Tao Yu, crouched down, and stared at her. Tao Yu had set herself against Feng Wu because of her older brother in year 2. However, even he had been defeated now, so she had no choice but to surrender. Tao Yu seemed utterly flustered when their eyes met again, and before Feng Wu said anything, Tao Yu apologized first. After that, Guan Jing apologized as well. Feng Wu then casually turned to Feng Sang. Feng Sang lowered her head and didn't dare look at Feng Wu. The moment Feng Wu defeated Tao Hu, no one would ever doubt that she was the top student in year 1. Even by year 2 standards, she was no longer a nobody. No one had any reason to challenge her anymore. Feng Wu asked Chaoga, "How are you holding up?" Chaoga had suffered a lot of external injuries, but the supreme level medicine Feng Wu had given her was very effective, and she was mostly recovered by now. But Feng Wu still shook her head and asked Gong Sun Qing to take Chaoga away to get some rest. When she walked past Rong Shixin, Feng Wu said, I owe you one. Because Rong Shirshin had stood up for Chaoga and tried to save her at the critical moment. Chapter 1281, Initial. Chapter 1281, Initial. Feng Wu didn't care why he had tried to help or whether or not he succeeded. She felt grateful, all the same. Feng Wu said she owed him one. Rong Shirshin was dazed and felt conflicted. It hadn't been very long ago that he considered Feng Wu just another junior classmate with a promising future, but before he knew it, Feng Wu had killed Xian Yuan Yi and become the top student in year 1. And now, she had defeated Tao Hu, proving herself to be as capable as a year 2 student. Even he, who had once been first in year 1, had to look up to her now. Sure, Rong Shirshin gave her a wry smile. He glanced at Si Yuan as he smiled. Compared with Si Yuan, Rong Shirshin thought that he had done a better job of accepting reality. What he didn't foresee was how this favor from Feng Wu would change his life. Feng Wu left after saying those words. Xiao Wu, where are you going? Chaoga asked involuntarily. Feng Wu waved the application forms in her hand and smiled. The year 2 quarter, of course. She was already a few hundred meters away after those words. All the year 1 students were baffled. The next second, they all looked at Chaoga. Is Feng Wu really skipping grades to year 2? I thought we couldn't do that until the end of term. Feng Wu just offended Tiger Head. If she really skips to year 2, I'm sure they'll give her such a hard time. Everyone was talking at the same time. Some were worried while others were curious. The members of Tiger Head stormed off toward Initial, the territory of the year 2 students. Brother, I can't stand this. Gu Hongling looked at Tao Hu. Tao Hu was furious as he clenched his fists and his eyes turned bloodshot red. I won't forgive her for what she did. Tao Hu gritted his teeth. Does she want to become a year 2 student? Fine, I'll give her what she wants. Tiger Head had already been established for a few years and had gained a reputation. They were confident that once Feng Wu came to year 2, they could make her life a living hell. Who are you talking about? They heard a cheerful voice behind them when they were still discussing angrily among themselves. And they all paled as soon as they heard it. Feng Wu, are you following us? Lung Hu glared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu smiled and nodded, looking very sincere. That's right. Lung Hu said, we've done as you asked. What more do you want? Feng Wu only smiled. I won't be able to get into the year 2 area without a guide. Of course I have to follow you people. Are you going there now? That's right. I need Chief Chiao's seal on these forms. Feng Wu waved the application forms in her hand. There was a deadline to her trial. If she couldn't finish it within the next 10 days, her broken star piece would be gone forever. Lung Hu stared at Feng Wu. Her friends all looked alarmed as well. As far as they knew, Chief Chiao wasn't exactly a just leader. Apart from being biased toward those he considered his own, he also favored the more talented students. Feng Wu had shown so much potential at such a young age and was bound to have a promising future. She was just the type that Chief Chiao preferred. The members of Tiger Head couldn't stand the idea of Feng Wu joining year 2 and becoming a favorite of Chief Chiao. However, could they refuse to take her there? Of course they couldn't. Hence, after much hesitation when they reached the entrance of Initial, Tao, who still led Feng Wu inside. Chapter 1282. Aren't you afraid that she'll get back at you? Chapter 1282. Aren't you afraid that she'll get back at you? Year 1 students were the only ones that didn't have an area of their own. Starting from year 2, each year had their own territory. This area, known as Initial, was created when an unknown master cracked the space open. From above, one could see that the entire Initial consisted of a mountain. Grotesque stones protruded out of various peaks, and everywhere one turned, the ground was covered with thick growth, the foliage so thick it blocked out the sun. The teaching buildings and dormitories were scattered over the slopes. The members of Tiger Head didn't want to hang out with Feng Wu after they let her inside. So, they quickly walked away, leaving her behind all by herself. Feng Wu rubbed her nose and realized that she would need a guide here, since she didn't know her way around. She quickly glanced around the area. Soon, she saw someone passing by. Since it was so hard to find a passerby, Feng Wu decided that she should grab this chance. So, she quickly ran after the person. It was a teenage boy in a green robe, which made him blend into the background. He was moving so fast that Feng Wu almost lost track of him. But Feng Wu was as persistent as ever. If she wanted to get something done, she would stick to it to the end. Whoosh! Activating Phoenix Dance, Feng Wu moved as fast as she could. The green-robed teenager was on his way back to his dormitory after practice, when he noticed that he was being followed. He was amazed at the fact that someone would dare follow him in initial. How interesting. He exerted more power and quickened his pace, thinking that he could easily throw the person off. However, the person behind him moved faster as well and was still following him. Frowning, the green-robed teenager looked over his shoulder, trying to see who was bold enough to offend him here. However, he stumbled as soon as he saw her face and almost tripped. What a beautiful girl. She had exquisite features and was stunningly beautiful, but she was only a teenager now. In a few years, no one would be able to resist her beauty. Ahem. Despite his astonishment, the green-robed teenager kept his expression very serious. You're not a year 2 student. That was a statement. The green-robed teenager had been cultivating in seclusion and didn't know many fellow classmates. However, this girl was simply too beautiful. He knew he would have noticed her if she were a year 2 student. Since Feng Wu was a stranger here, she didn't dare be reckless. With a sweet and innocent smile, she asked, "Brother, are you a year 2 student? Who could bring themselves to give such a lovely girl the cold shoulder?" So, the teenager nodded and said, yes. While Feng Wu struck up a conversation with the teenager, the members of Tiger Head were discussing among themselves as well. Lung Hu snorted. We lured Feng Wu into Shu Yunruo's territory on purpose. He should be cultivating at this time of day. He's not going to be very forgiving. Gu Honglang glanced at Lung Hu and said, so that's why you insisted on taking this path. You're trying to set her up. Lung Hu snorted. Feng Wu knows next to nothing about initial, so of course I'll try to trick her. Gu Honglang asked, aren't you worried that she'll get back at you later? Lung Hu smirked. Get back at me? She'll have to survive an initial first. Plus, I have a feeling that Shu Yunruo won't forgive her that easily. Gu Honglang suggested, shall we go back to our place now instead of waiting here? Chapter 1283. Why are Feng Wu and Shu Yunruo going up the mountain together? Chapter 1283. Why are Feng Wu and Shu Yunruo going up the mountain together? As for what they were waiting for, they wanted to see Feng Wu humiliated, of course. Sure, the other members of Tiger Head nodded happily as well. Shu Yunruo is one of the top 5 students in year 2, and if Feng Wu offends him, Meanwhile, Feng Wu was chatting with Shu Yunruo. Who are you, and what are you doing here at Initial? Shu Yunruo stared at Feng Wu with his piercing eyes. Feng Wu told him the truth. I'm here to see Chief Qiao. Those people of Tiger Head led me in and left me here. I have no idea where to find Chief Qiao. She wasn't dumb and could see immediately that Shu Yunruo was too powerful a cultivator for her to mess with. She saw how dangerous it would be if she disturbed his cultivation practice. She had seen through Lung Hu's plan. So, she gave Tiger Head up without hesitation. Meanwhile, she was also trying to find out how powerful this teenager was among his fellow Year 2 students. Tiger Head, Shu Yunruo snorted. Do they think they're good enough to trick me? Interesting. Feng Wu said, Brother, could you please take me Chief Qiao? I really need to see him now. According to her estimation, Tao is ranked around 100 in Year 2. Judging from this teenager's tone when he talked about Tiger Head, he should be a lot more capable than Tao Hu. Since Feng Wu was new here, she knew that anyone could try to trick her, so she decided that she should get all the help she could find. Shu Yunruo stared at Feng Wu with his emotionless eyes. This was the first time that a girl dared to make a request of him. That was bold. To Year 2 students, Shu Yunruo was an unapproachable creature. "Brother, can you please help me?" Feng Wu's beautiful eyes twinkled like stars, and anyone who looked into them would forget about everything else and say yes. Even someone as cold as Shu Yunruo couldn't help but frown. Feng Wu knew that she would have to face some difficulty before meeting Chief Xiao, and with this senior around, things would be much easier for her. Hence, she looked at him with the most pitiful expression on her face. "Fine." Shu Yunruo rubbed his forehead. "I'm on my way to Chief Xiao myself. I'll take you there." "Wow, really?" Feng Wu's eyes lit up in pleasant surprise. "Thank you, senior. May I have your name? I'll keep you in my prayers." "No need." Shu Yunruo shook his head. He didn't know why he said yes either. Usually, he was all about keeping to himself and kept his distance from the other students. However, something about this girl made him want to get close to her. What a strange girl, thought Shu Yunruo. As expected, on their way up the mountain, Feng Wu saw that the roads were heavily guarded. Without Shu Yunruo, she would never be able to pass through, let alone meet Chief Xiao. Meanwhile, in the distance, what? Am I seeing things? Is Feng Wu going up the mountain with Shu Yunruo now? No, you're right. We can all see it. That's impossible. Shu Yunruo has always been so arrogant and unapproachable. Not only didn't he punish Feng Wu, he's also chatting happily with her as well. That's right. And he's taking Feng Wu to Chief Xiao with a smile on his face. Chapter 1284, Unexpected Treatment. Chapter 1284, Unexpected Treatment. All the members of Tiger Head were dumbfounded. They looked at one another in disbelief and were all astonished. Maybe they already know each other. Lung, who could only try to deceive herself with those words. Feng Wu had no idea that Tiger Head was still tracking her. Right now, she was trying to figure out what to say next. As a Year 1 student, it wasn't easy for her to get into Initial. It was common knowledge that the top student in Year 1 was qualified to enter Initial, but only once a year. Feng Wu was using her only opportunity this year, and if she couldn't get it done this time, she would have to wait another year if she wanted to come here again. Hence, she decided that she had to succeed this time. Soon, they arrived at the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain wasn't very spacious, but a quaint 100-square-meter courtyard had been built there. The courtyard was surrounded by precipitous cliffs on all sides, and the thick mist in the valley made it impossible to see the bottom, which further reflected how unfathomably formidable this place was. With Shu Yunruo at her side, no one asked Feng Wu any questions, and they arrived at the top of the mountain without running into any obstructions. Outside the courtyard, young Master Yunruo. 2 guards stood outside the courtyard, and they greeted Shu Yunruo when they saw him. Shu Yunruo nodded at them. "Is Chief Xiao inside?" The 2 guards said yes. Because it was Shu Yunruo, no permission was needed, and the 2 of them walked in directly. Chief Xiao was sitting in the yard with a book in one hand and a cup of tea in the other. The teacup was transparent, and one could immediately see the green tea leaves within. Their color was vibrant, and they floated in the water, looking very pretty. Chief Xiao raised his eyebrows when he saw Shu Yunruo. "Yunruo, to what do I owe this honor?" Shu Yunruo had become one of the top 5 students a few years after he entered Year 2. Thus, Chief Xiao had been giving him a lot of attention. Shu Yunruo remained as indifferent as ever in front of Chief Xiao. He only gave the chief a nod before looking at Feng Wu. Now that he had brought her here, she was on her own. Shu Yunruo turned to leave. Chief Xiao was confused when he saw Feng Wu walk out from behind the boy. He found the girl familiar and wondered if they had met before. "And you are?" Chief Xiao put down his book and gave Feng Wu an unhurried glance. "Hello, Chief Xiao. I'm here to apply to skip grades." Feng Wu handed Chief Xiao the application forms as she spoke. She secretly hoped that Chief Xiao hadn't heard anything bad about her from Xiao yet. Otherwise, she might fail this mission. Skip grades. Chief Xiao glanced at the application forms to find the signatures of Chief Yu and 5 Year 2 students on them, and he raised his eyebrows. He then read the content in the Achievements Since Enrollment column, and his eyes widened. Since becoming a student here 3 months ago, she rose from a level 4 spiritual grandmaster to level 9, killed Xian Yuani, and took first place on the billboard. All her achievements were listed there, and any one of them would make a person's eyes widen. Chief Qiao had been indifferent to Feng Wu at first, but after reading her resume, he became intrigued. No one would be able to make up such stories here in Imperial College, because he had the authority to read all internal files. You've risen from level 4 to level 9 of the spiritual grandmaster stage in as short a time as 3 months. Is that true? Xu Yunao was about to leave, but he paused when he heard that and looked back at Feng Wu. Chapter 1285, Too Late. Chapter 1285, Too Late. Despite her harmless appearance, the girl could be so violent deep down. Good. Chief Qiao nodded as he read on. He then looked up and beckoned Feng Wu over. Kiddo, why are you still standing there? Come here and sit with me. His attitude had changed so drastically. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief, thinking that it was going to be her lucky day today. Chief Qiao, my fate is in your hands now, said Feng Wu with a smile. Chief Qiao said grumpily, my year has no reason to turn away a student as excellent as you. Dong, bring me my seal. Dong was a Year 2 student and was currently working as Chief Qiao's personal assistant. She soon came back with the chief's seal and handed it to Chief Qiao with a smile. Chief Qiao said amicably, Feng Wu, be a good student here. Bring initial honor now, and initial will be proud of you in the future. Thank you, Chief Qiao. Feng Wu stared at the seal in his hands. She wished the man would stop babbling and put the seal on the form already. Still holding the seal, Chief Qiao turned to Xu Yunruo and said, Yunruo, Xiao will be the youngest student here, so keep an eye on her and make sure no one picks on her. Got it. Xu Yunruo, who had always looked so unapproachable, actually nodded. That was a surprise. Chief Qiao smiled and was about to put his seal on the application form when, Dad, they heard a shriek. That voice. Chief Qiao put down the seal, looked up, and found his daughter at the door. Dad, Qiao, he rushed in panting with flushed cheeks after all the running. Chief Qiao was concerned. Why are you in such a rush? What's wrong? Qiao Yi spotted Feng Wu as soon as she walked in. She couldn't stand to be in the same room as the girl. Qiao Yi snorted, walked up to Chief Qiao, and took his arm. Dad, come with me. I need to talk to you. Chief Qiao waved his hand. Why the rush? Let me put this seal on first. Chief Qiao wanted to put his seal on the application form first, so that he could see Feng Wu and Xu Yunruo on their way. That way, he would be able to talk to his daughter alone. Dad, Qiao, you would never let her dad put his seal on the form, so she tried to drag him away. Chief Qiao had always doted on his daughter. Since Qiao Yi wouldn't relent, he could only give Feng Wu a wry smile and let his daughter drag him away. Qiao Yi burst into tears as soon as they went to the other room. Hearing the broken sobs coming from the other room, Xu Yunruo glanced at Feng Wu suspiciously. Did you offend her before? Feng Wu shrugged. I slapped her the other day. Even someone as unperturbed as Xu Yunruo couldn't help but open his eyes wider when he heard those words. He then cleared his throat and gave Feng Wu a thumbs up. He had thought that she was a harmless little thing, but as it turned out, she was anything but harmless. However, that only made Xu Yunruo even more intrigued. In the other room, Dad, this Feng Wu is abominable. Before she came to Imperial College, and after she got in, Chapter 1286, Leave. Chapter 1286, Leave. She's the worst student ever. Holding her father's arm, Qiao Yi trashed Feng Wu with the worst slander she could think of until Feng Wu sounded like the worst student alive. Chief Qiao was frowning the entire time without saying a word. Qiao Yi cried out, Dad. She hit me. That statement set her father off. Chief Qiao asked, What did you say? Qiao Yi cried, like a pretty flower in the rain. Dad, it happened the other day in the Year 1 office. Feng Wu. It was Qiao Yi's coup de grace. She accused Feng Wu between broken sobs, making the latter into this domineering girl who had been abusing her power. Feng Wu had given Chief Qiao a good impression at first, but after Qiao Yi's repeated slander, Chief Qiao changed his opinion of Feng Wu as well. Is she really that kind of person? Chief Qiao frowned. Seeing that her father had wavered, Qiao Yi went on crying, making more excuses. I've been getting along so well with young Lord Feng, but Feng Wu intervened, and now, young Lord Feng won't even talk to me. She must have said some bad things about me behind my back. Feng Wu would be dumbfounded if she heard that. Since when did Qiao Yi get along well with Feng's son, and when did she ever intervene? She had never slandered Qiao Yi in front of Feng's son. To be more precise, she had never talked about this woman in front of him. However, because Feng Wu didn't know what Qiao Yi had been saying about her, she couldn't come to her own defense. It just so happened that Chief Qiao would become this completely unreasonable old man whenever it came to Qiao Yi. He could be unbelievably biased. He flared up as soon as he heard that Feng Wu had hit Qiao Yi. An hour had passed by the time Chief Qiao and Qiao Yi came out of the room. Feng Wu realized that something was wrong as soon as she saw the look on Chief Qiao's face. She was right to assume that, since Chief Qiao immediately gave his verdict. He pushed the application forms back to Feng Wu. Feng Wu's heart sank, but she looked undisturbed when she asked, Chief Qiao, what's that supposed to mean? Chief Qiao smirked. This isn't the place for a student like you, so please leave. He rejected Feng Wu's application. Feng Wu's pretty face darkened. She frowned and stared at Chief Qiao. Chief Qiao stared back at her and ordered, Feng Wu, I think you should be on your way. Feng Wu smirked. I now see what kind of person you are, Chief Qiao. Chief Qiao glared at Feng Wu. He believed that with his power, Feng Wu should already be on her knees and begging for forgiveness. However, the girl only stared back at him. Chief Qiao asked, what kind of person am I then? Feng Wu smirked. You're biased, opinionated, and subjective, and abuse public power to retaliate against your personal enemy. I'm very disappointed. Feng Wu promptly turned to leave. Stop right there. Chief Qiao wouldn't take the criticism lying down. Feng Wu turned around and sneered at him. You believe everything Qiao Yi says without asking a single question. What would you call that if not biased and opinionated? You don't deserve to be the chief of Year 2. Chief Qiao almost had a heart attack. He had always considered himself the king of initial, and all his commands should be carried out without question. No one had ever dared defy him, let alone do it in front of other people. In other words, the unchallenged Lord of Initial had just been humiliated by Feng Wu. Chapter 12, 87. Skip grades? In your dreams. Chapter 12, 87. Skip grades? In your dreams. Chief Qiao shook with anger. Pointing at Feng Wu with a trembling finger, he said, No wonder, Qiao, he says you're so sharp-tongued. That's how you were able to talk yourself out of that cheating incident. Did you just say that I cheated in my exam? Feng Wu smirked. Chief Qiao said, Qiao Yi is your class teacher, and I'm sure she has the most accurate judgment of your character. Moreover, how dare you hit your teacher? Imperial College is ashamed to have a student like you. Get out of my sight. His black eyes were filled with rage, and it reminded one of an imminent storm. Spiritual essence sprang up, and an incredible pressure closed in on Feng Wu. Frowning, Shu Yunruo shielded Feng Wu with his body. Instantly, the rampant spiritual essence struck Shu Yunruo like a roaring dragon. Blood trickled down from the corner of Shu Yunruo's mouth, but he kept his ground. They had only met for the first time today, but he was defending her with his own life. Feng Wu would be lying if she said that she wasn't touched. Chief Qiao glared at Shu Yunruo. Out of my way. Wiping away the blood, Shu Yunruo looked up, and something fierce flashed in his eyes. I thought this place was just and fair. Chief Qiao's eyes grew colder as he glared at Shu Yunruo. Shu Yunruo wouldn't give in and kept his unblinking gaze on Chief Chiao as well. As the most talented teenager of Initial, he had his own pride and principles. Infuriated, Chief Chiao activated even more spiritual essence, which rushed toward Shu Yunruo. As the chief of the year, he wouldn't be threatened by a teenager. Feng Wu cursed inwardly when she saw what was going to happen. Hear me out. Feng Wu stepped out so that Shu Yunruo was behind her, and she looked Chief Chiao in the eye. The look in her eyes was as sharp as an icy blade, which intimidated everyone. She was by no means the most powerful cultivator here, but just by standing there with her clothes flapping in the wind, she already reminded the others of a goddess of war. Even Chief Chiao was intimidated by her cold eyes. Staring at Chief Chiao, Feng Wu racked her brain. Chief Chiao wouldn't give her any chance now and had just told her to leave. What was more, he had the right to make that decision. I don't want to hear anything you have to say, Chief Chiao said impatiently and waved her off. Miss Feng, please leave. Dong walked up to Feng Wu with an expressionless face and a grim look in her eyes. Feng Wu glanced at Dong. Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she looked enlightened. Dong had an ominous feeling when she saw this, and she stared at Feng Wu. But before she could say anything, Feng Wu had walked up to her and whispered something in her ear. Dong paled suddenly, and she looked both enraged and terrified when she stared at Feng Wu. Feng Wu only gave her a half-smile. Senior Dong, would you please tell Chief Chiao that? The entire time, Feng Wu remained completely unperturbed. Dong, on the other hand, clenched her fists. After throwing another dirty look at Feng Wu, she walked back to Chief Chiao. Chief Chiao only smirked. I don't care what connections you have. Feel free to have Mr. Feng speak up for you. Chiao gloated and gave Feng Wu a taunting look. You want to skip grades? In your dreams. Chapter 1288. She saw through him. Chapter 1288. She saw through him. Chiao was determined to keep Feng Wu in year one under her watch, so that she could do whatever she wanted to her. Seeing the taunting look on Xiao Yi's face, Feng Wu only smiled calmly. Dong walked up to Chief Chiao and whispered something in his ear. Instantly, Chief Chiao's face darkened, and he looked more awful than a cloudy sky. Judging by his reaction, Feng Wu knew that she had guessed right. She grinned. I heard that there's an exception in Initial. If I can successfully pass a series of trials, I can join year two even without your permission. Is that true? Chief Yu was the one who had mentioned it to Feng Wu beforehand. How wise that woman was. Chief Chiao glared at Feng Wu with eyes that could freeze water into ice. Feng Wu only smiled as mildly as ever. Chief Chiao took a deep breath. Only now did he realize that this girl wasn't as easy to handle as he had assumed. If he didn't do something now, she might expose one of his biggest secrets. At that thought, Chief Chiao smirked. If you're bold enough to take that challenge, be my guest. The trials will be ready for you in 7 days. You can leave now. 7 days. That was longer than Feng Wu had expected, but she knew that she was pushing Chief Chiao's limits. And if she didn't stop now, she might set him off. She nodded. See you in 7 days then, Chief Chiao. Feng Wu turned to leave after saying those words. As she walked away, she could hear Xiao Yi's angry and unreconciled voice. Why did you give her permission to take the challenge? All her fame is fake. She cheated. Dad, why didn't you say no? Why are you letting her do it? Feng Wu grinned and laughed inwardly at the naive Xiao Yi. That woman knew nothing. Shu Yunruo walked down the mountain with Feng Wu. As usual, he was silent. Feng Wu couldn't help but glance at him. He had protected her for no reason, and she felt compelled to return that favor. Feng Wu smiled at Shu Yunruo. Senior Shu, are you sure you're going to be all right for offending Chief Chiao like that? Shu Yunruo only glanced at Feng Wu without saying anything. Feng Wu bit her lower lip. Won't he try to get back at you? Looking up at the sky, Shu Yunruo said quietly, I'm from the Gongshu family of Taiyuan. The Gongshu family of Taiyuan? Feng Wu immediately saw the light. It was one of the 9 major clans that used to rank somewhere in the middle, but which had been rising in status in the last few years. She was amazed that the first person she found to ask for directions was someone of the Gongshu family. "So, are you using an alias now?" Feng Wu asked curiously. "It's my mother's maiden name." Xu Yinruo only realized how much personal information he was telling her after he said those words. That was so strange, because he had always been a private person. After all these years in initial, Chief Qiao was the only person who knew his background. He couldn't understand why he was telling the girl so many things. There was something about this girl that would make one spill their secrets. At that thought, Xu Yinruo threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. Baffled, Feng Wu rubbed her nose and wondered what that was about. Xu Yinruo walked Feng Wu to the main road and told her, "Just follow the road." He left after giving Feng Wu the direction. Rubbing her nose, Feng Wu didn't understand why he was mad. What a moody teenager. Chapter 1289, Slander. Chapter 1289, Slander. Feng Wu went back to Fallen Star Yard to find a lot of people waiting for her. Feng Sun and Xian Yi were there, as well as Jun Linyuan. They were all sitting in the courtyard, and Feng Xiaoqi was pouring tea for them. Feng Sun shouted in an exaggerated tone, "Hey Feng Xiaoqi, what is it with your family and geniuses? Why is everyone here making breakthroughs so quickly?" Feng Xiaoqi was about to answer when he heard footsteps. He threw himself into Feng Wu's arms when he saw who it was. "Sister, you're back." Feng Wu patted Feng Xiaoqi on the head. He was usually a naive and shy boy, and entertaining guests was still a bit too much for him. But it was a necessary part of being a grown-up, so Feng Wu was determined to keep training him. Interacting with other people was as important as his cultivation practice. A grasp of mundane affairs was genuine knowledge. An understanding of worldly wisdom was true learning. Feng Wu didn't want Feng Xiaoqi to turn into a nerd that only cared about cultivation. "Why are all of you here?" Feng Wu asked Feng Sun in confusion. Feng Sun grinned. "For fun, of course. Didn't you hear?" "About what?" Feng Wu was perplexed. Feng Sun said, "That sister of yours, isn't Dugu Mingxi supposed to marry her? They're bringing the betrothal gifts today. How can you not know that?" As a matter of fact, Feng Wu really didn't know. She asked curiously, "Does the Dugu family really want her as a daughter-in-law?" Feng Sun smiled. "Not exactly. My info says that Dugu Mingxi will take her in as a concubine." That was to say, Feng Lu wasn't going to be the official wife. Feng Wu found that very reasonable. However, Feng Sun said, "Of course I won't let them do that, so I said no." Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun. "But why? Don't you understand? You little fool." Feng Sun jabbed Feng Wu's smooth forehead with a finger. "Feng Lu is your sister. If she becomes the Dugu family's concubine, your reputation will be ruined along with hers. That's why I won't let it happen." Feng Wu was speechless. "You little fool." If those words had been from Jun Linyuan, she would be halfway through the 4th trial already. "By the way, I heard that you went to Imperial College." Feng Sun didn't care about Feng Lu, but he wanted to know everything Feng Wu did. It suddenly occurred to Feng Wu that Jun Linyuan needed to be present at the trials 7 days later. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to finish her task. So, she nodded immediately. "That's right. I'm going to skip year 1. That's my sister. How ambitious." Feng Sun gave her a thumbs up. "With your capability, you totally deserve to be in year 2. If that's the case, make sure you all come to watch me take the challenge 7 days later." Feng Wu grabbed the opportunity and invited the 3 men. The challenge. Feng Sun raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying that Xiao Ling Xiao won't let you skip grades?" Feng Wu smiled. "It doesn't matter. I'll prove my capability." Feng Sun was confused. "But he should have let you. That old man likes talented students the most. He should think very highly of you." Qiaoga added, "Chief Qiao's daughter is Qiao Yi." Feng Sun immediately saw the light. "So, someone has been saying bad things about you." He then smirked. "She's not the only person who knows how to do that. After what she did to you, I'll make sure she's no longer a teacher of Imperial College. Chapter 1290, The Arrogant Crown Prince. Chapter 1290, The Arrogant Crown Prince. That was the benefit of being part of the privileged class. A single sentence from Feng Sun was enough to determine Miss Xiao Yi's fate. And don't worry about skipping grades. I'll take care of it for you. Feng Sun patted his chest. He wouldn't let anyone pick on his sister. However, Feng Wu stopped him. Wait, her mission was to get into year 2, become a top 10 student, change Jun Linyuan's opinion of her, and cheer him up so that he would call her my little fool. To do that, Feng Wu would need an opportunity to demonstrate her capability, and the challenge was perfect. I'll impress them with my own capability. Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun and said earnestly, I'll win their respect myself. Feng Sun patted her on the head. You know, if old Xiao is determined to make you fail, he'll make the challenge Trials Hell mode. Huh. Feng Wu looked confused. Feng Sun rolled his eyes at her. What do you take that challenge for? It's known as Dragon's Gate, and the battles are divided into a few different levels. Dragon's Gate is used as the annual test for Year 2 students, and the battles come in 5 levels of difficulty: normal, difficult, elite, hell, and death. Feng Sun added, usually, for a test to skip grades, they'll use the normal level. Passing the trial at that level will make you the 700th student on their billboard. The equivalent ranking for the difficult level is 300th and 100th for the elite level. He looked into Feng Wu's eyes and said, passing the hell level will make you 10th in their ranking system. As for the death level, that'll take you even higher up the ranking list. Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu. However, Chief Qiao is the one who will decide the level of the trial. So, apart from your conflict with Xiao Yi, have you offended him in any other way? Feng Wu was speechless. Seeing Feng Wu's reaction, Feng Sun was bemused. So, you have offended him. Feng Wu said, don't worry. I'm sure he won't try anything. Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu. Are you sure you don't need me to talk to someone? Have some faith in me. There aren't many things in the Imperial capital that I can't handle. Even if I can't, you can always ask Boss Jun for help. Speaking of Jun Linyuan, Feng Wu hadn't even glanced at him since she came back. She was still holding a grudge against him. Before, at World Tower, Jun Linyuan had stormed off after scolding her, and that had been very humiliating. By the way, Boss Jun, are you free 7 days later? Feng Sun blurted out when he saw Feng Wu staring at Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu's heart raced. She didn't care about other people, but Jun Linyuan had to be there. Otherwise, she would fail her mission. No. The Crown Prince stared at Feng Wu, and something seemed to flicker in his eyes. What? Feng Wu's stomach lurched. Was Jun Linyuan not going to go? But he had to. Feng Wu tugged at Feng Sun and winked at him. Feng Sun immediately took the hint and realized that Feng Wu wanted Boss Jun there to see her demonstrate her power. Feng Sun grinned and walked up to Jun Linyuan. Boss Jun, what are you doing that day? Would you like to join me and go to Initial? The Crown Prince glanced at the nervous Feng Wu and said arrogantly, I don't have time for that. Feng Sun shrugged and looked at Feng Wu in resignation, his gesture indicating that there was nothing more he could do. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead and wondered if Jun Linyuan was waiting for her to beg him. Just then Jun Linyuan rose to his feet. Immediately, he gave off an indescribable pressure which affected everyone else around him. Chapter 1291. Who would dare pick on her? Chapter 1291. Who would dare pick on her? Was he leaving? Without thinking, Feng Wu ran up to him and grabbed him by his wide sleeve. She seemed so eager. Xian Yi and Feng Sun exchanged looks, and Feng Sun raised an eyebrow, the expression on his face saying, What did I tell you? Little Feng Wu is taking the initiative these days. Chaoga and Xiuling, on the other hand, saw astonishment in each other's eyes. This didn't seem right. Hadn't Feng Wu repeatedly said that she didn't like Jun Linyuan? She found him repulsive, and that he would be the last person on earth she would fall in love with. But what was she doing now? Feng Wu didn't care about what other people thought. She stood in front of Jun Linyuan and blocked his way. Frowning, Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu with his beautiful eyes and said, "Move." The energy he gave off was so intimidating that no one else dared come closer. But Feng Wu couldn't care less about that. Tugging at Jun Linyuan's sleeve, she asked softly, "Brother Jun, are you really not coming?" Jun Linyuan only gave her an indifferent glance and went on ignoring her. Feng Wu knew that look only too well. It meant beg me, and I'll be there. Feng Wu was speechless. Did he want to make her beg him in front of so many people? She had her dignity as well. Biting her lower lip, Feng Wu hesitated. The crown prince started walking at an unhurried pace and would soon be out the door. Jun Linyuan, biting her lower lip, Feng Wu said, "I'm begging you. Please come." "What?" The crown prince's black eyes twinkled. Tugging at his sleeve, Feng Wu said, "Yes, I'm begging you. Will you please come and watch?" Jun Linyuan snorted and raised his chin. "Are you begging me now?" Feng Wu said, "Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing now. Will you please come watch me fight?" She swayed his arm back and forth as she spoke. The handsome teenager crossed his arms behind his back and raised his chin. He might look arrogant, but anyone who knew him well could see that he was gloating. Clearing his throat, he said, "Since you asked so sincerely, I suppose I can spare some time and go watch the battle that day." How could he sound so reluctant when he was filled with joy? The corner of Feng Sun's mouth twitched. Chao and Qiuling exchanged looks, and both felt perplexed. Feng Xiaoqi lowered his head and bit his lip. "She's my sister. Even His Royal Highness can't take her away from me." At that thought, Feng Xiaoqi threw a dirty look at Jun Linyuan. Well, Feng Sun grinned when he saw the look on Feng Xiaoqi's face, and he rubbed the boy's head. "What? Are you not happy, little guy?" Feng Xiaoqi grunted like a wolf cub. Feng Sun found him amusing. Patting the boy on the shoulder, he said, "Boss Jun is going to look after your sister from now on, and that's a good thing. No one will dare pick on her again." Feng Xiaoqi gritted his teeth. "I'll protect my sister. Well, aren't you an ambitious little thing? However, it'll be a while before you could do that. Hey, where are you going?" "Practice." Feng Xiaoqi stormed off. Feng Wu didn't notice Feng Xiaoqi's reaction, because something else just occurred to her. "Hey, do you guys know Rongyang the alchemist?" Feng Wu asked. Feng Sun looked at her. "What do you need him for?" Feng Wu said, "To forge a sword." Chapter 1292, Rainy Autumn Mountain. Chapter 1292, Rainy Autumn Mountain. Ever since Feng Wu started working on Fallen Star swordplay, her flaming sword was no longer powerful enough. Twice in a row, her inadequate weapon had almost led to her downfall. She said, "I have some Fallen Star iron on hand, and I need his help to forge my Fallen Star sword. I've looked everywhere, but I still can't find him." Rongyang was the best alchemist in the Junwu Empire, and his expertise was in forging weapons. Feng Wu couldn't think of a better candidate for the job. Feng Wu had been searching for him for a while. After exhausting her resources, however, she still couldn't find Master Rongyang. "Ha!" Feng Sun laughed when he heard that. "Of course you can't find him, because—" Jun Linyuan glanced at Feng Sun, and the latter immediately shut up. Ahem. Feng Sun tried to cover up his embarrassment by clearing his throat. He then winked at Feng Wu, reminding her that she should ask Jun Linyuan for help. Given how smart Feng Wu was, she immediately took the hint. "So, does your Royal Highness know where Master Rongyang is?" Feng Wu asked eagerly as she tugged at Jun Linyuan's sleeve. Fallen Star Sword. If the Master could forge one for Feng Wu, she would have a much better chance of getting through Dragon's Gate. At that thought, Feng Wu went on giving Jun Linyuan pleading looks. No man could turn away from those eyes, especially when the man was in love with her. However, the arrogant crown prince wouldn't let his expression betray him. There was a big frown on his handsome face when he said, "Master Rongyang will only meet those he think he can bond with. I'm sure I can bond with him." Tugging at Jun Linyuan's sleeve, Feng Wu said, "All elderly people like me, and they're always happy to see me. It's true." Jun Linyuan was rendered speechless. Feng Wu looked eagerly at him. In the end, the crown prince surrendered to her pitiful eyes. "Give me some pen and paper." "No problem." Excited, Feng Wu ran away before coming back almost immediately with all the stationery Jun Linyuan needed. He then glanced at Feng Wu, and she immediately took the hint. Rolling up her sleeves, she started rubbing the ink stick on the inkstone. Picking up a writing brush with his right hand, Jun Linyuan started painting. Before long, he had finished a painting of rainy autumn mountain. He then put the writing brush down, crossed his hands behind his back, and walked away. Feng Sun and Xian Yi followed him with wry smiles on their faces. Chaoga was bewildered as she watched them leave. What does His Royal Highness mean by this? Instead of giving you an address, he drew a picture? Feng Wu was equally baffled and couldn't look away from the painting. Jun Linyuan kept walking, and Feng Sun quickly caught up with him. Boss Jun, that painting was so vague. How is little Feng Wu supposed to guess what you mean?" Xian, he shook his head as well. If they hadn't known the address already, they wouldn't be able to guess the answer either. However, the crown prince only raised his chin and grunted slightly. "She'll figure out." Feng Sun smiled bitterly. "Boss Jun, not everyone is as smart as you are. I bet you that little Feng Wu won't be able to get the answer." Xian thought the same because without the right hint, one might never guess the address. Feng Wu carefully studied every inch of the painting. Rainy autumn mountain. Jun Linyuan was a great painter. The painting depicted an empty mountain after an autumn rain, and silver moonlight poured into the woods. Chapter 1293. The Crown Prince's Attitude Toward Feng Wu. Chapter 1293. The Crown Prince's Attitude Toward Feng Wu. The atmosphere created by the painting was so profound that before one knew it, they were completely absorbed. Feng Wu hung the painting on the wall and sat down in front of it with her legs crossed. She then studied it with unblinking eyes. Chaoga and Xiaoling tried to make as little noise as possible, fearing that they might disturb Feng Wu. Seeing the way Feng Wu sat there, absorbed in the painting, Chaoga and Xiaoling exchanged looks and left the room, closing the door behind them. Everyone in Fallen Star Yard cared about Feng Wu. "Has Miss Wu found the answer yet?" asked Granny Zhao. Xiaoling gave her a wry smile. "Miss Wu has been sitting there for hours already." Granny Zhao frowned. "All we have is a painting. That's so difficult." Xiaoling nodded. "You don't say. We're supposed to guess the address from a painting alone without any other hints. That's impossible." Chaoga frowned. "If we can't find Master Rongyang, Xiao Wu won't have a proper weapon, and she may fail her challenge." Xiaoling said, "A lot of people have already heard that Miss Wu is going to take the challenge. It'll be so humiliating for her if she fails." They were standing by the wall as they chatted, but they didn't know that someone had been eavesdropping on the other side of the wall. Feng Wu? Skipping a grade? Master Rongyang? Fallen Star Sword? It was none other than Zhuo Qingyu. Dugamingshi was here at the Feng Manor for the marriage proposal that day, and Zhuo Qingyu and Duga Yamo had tagged along. It just so happened that they overheard the conversation. The two of them quietly went back to their carriage. Duga Yamo asked, "Is Feng Wu skipping year one?" "Qingyu, aren't you in year 2 now? Do you know about this?" Zhuo Qingyu took a deep breath. She had been busy with something at home and hadn't gone to school for a few days. She didn't expect something so major to happen while she was away. "I'll ask around." And that was the first thing she did when she went back home. The Zhuo family was well connected, and Zhuo Qingyu was treated like a goddess in initial. She was able to find out everything in no time. In less than an hour, she received the information she wanted. Feng Wu has entered initial, and Xu Yunruo walked her up the mountain. Chief Qiao rejected her because of Miss Qiao Yi, and Feng Wu is taking the Dragon's Gate challenge in 7 days. Crumpling the paper up in her hand, Zhuo Qingyu gritted her teeth. "Feng Wu, I'm actually impressed. Xu Yunruo is a direct descendant of the Gongshu family. and he's never been close to anybody. Why did he show you the way the first time he met you? What's your relationship with him? Dragon's Gate. Zhuo knew that she alone wasn't capable enough to stop Feng Wu, so she gathered the information together and went to talk to Zhuo. Masters was in a bad mood these days. His luck had been bad ever since the incident at the World Tower the other day. Nothing seemed to go his way, be it his cultivation or work. Zhuo cut to the chase as soon as she walked in. Father, I think this is a great opportunity for us. Zhuo's eyes flickered. If Feng Wu wants to get into year 2, let's make sure that she stays in Dragon's Gate and never comes out. Zhuo felt a phantom headache as soon as he heard Feng Wu's name. Chapter 1294. The Answer. Chapter 1294. The Answer. Father, students die in Dragon's Gate all the time. So why can't it happen to her? That way, our family won't even be a suspect. Father, have you forgotten about my brother? He would never have died if it wasn't for Feng Wu. Father, have you forgotten about his Royal Highness attitude toward Feng Wu? Of course, Zhuo remembered everything. He even suspected that his bad luck recently had something to do with the Crown Prince. The thought of the Crown Prince taking Feng Wu's side alone was enough to infuriate Zhuo. Father, there's also my sister. That was the last straw. Yes, they had to think about Zhuo Qingwan's future as well. If the Crown Prince really was in love with Feng Wu, what should Zhuo Qingwan do? The Zhuo clan had invested everything in Zhuo Qingwan. Feng Wu had to die, and they were willing to pay any price for that to happen. There was a cold look in Zhuo's eyes. What's your plan? He looked at Zhuo Qingyu. He had realized that this daughter of his was becoming better and better at formulating strategies. She might actually lead this family to prosperity. Zhuo Qingyu lowered her voice and whispered in Zhuo's ear. She didn't say much, but everything was to the point. All of Zhuo Qingyu's connections were in the younger generation, so she had to ask for her family's help. After some consideration, Zhuo said yes. Zhuo Qingyu flushed, and her eyes flickered with excitement. Qingyu, if your plan works, I'll make sure you're properly rewarded for it. Zhuo Qingyu put a hand on Zhuo Qingyu's slim shoulder and praised her. Zhuo Qingyu rubbed her hands in excitement. Dad, I'm a part of this family, and it's my duty to make it prosper. Although I'm a girl, it doesn't make me any less devoted to this family. Good. Zhuo felt elated and conflicted at the same time. He had plenty of sons, but the 2 daughters were the best. Zhuo said, talk to Uncle He. He'll give you all the help you need. Feng Wu had no idea that the Zhuo family was already onto her. Night had fallen, but she was still looking at the painting. She couldn't understand why she still couldn't find an answer. There was a spring, some giant rocks, and flowing water, and an eagle soared in the sky. There was also a pine tree, a Chinese parasol, and a ginkgo tree. She could hear Qiuling's low voice outside the door. Watch it. Don't let the fruit fall. The noise will disturb Miss Wu. Qiaoge asked, how about I cut down this tree? Qiuling shook her head. Don't. Miss Wu brought it all the way here from the highest peak. All of a sudden, an idea struck Feng Wu like a bolt of lightning. She was enlightened. Feng Wu had been an avid reader since she was little and had memorized the names of all the places in the Zhenwu Empire. Her eyes lit up. If that soaring eagle referred to the highest peak, she remembered that there was a valley near that peak known as 3 Trees. It was a very straightforward name. A pine tree, a Chinese parasol, and a ginkgo tree. Feng Wu looked around the painting and saw that those 3 trees were indeed the only distinctive ones. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief. Finally, she had found the answer. Jun Linyuan was indeed a very clever man. By then, the sky was already turning light. Chapter 1295, Boss Jun, do you like Feng Wu? Chapter 1295, Boss Jun, do you like Feng Wu? Squeak. Feng Wu pushed the door open and came out. Qiuling and the others cried out in surprise. Miss Wu, there you are. Chao asked excitedly. Xiao Wu, have you figured it out? Feng Wu looked at the other members of Fallen Star Yard. None of them had gotten any sleep the night before, and they all looked rather pale. No matter how difficult life was in the outside world, these lovely people would always be there for her. Feng Wu felt much more reassured whenever she thought of them. Yes, I have. I'm going to Three Trees Valley now. You guys just stay here and get some rest. Feng Wu jumped onto her horse and sped off. Xiao Wu, I'm going with you. Chao left after Feng Wu. Put that painting in a safe place and don't lose it, Feng Wu shouted. As soon as she left Fallen Star Yard, the Crown Prince's residents heard the news. In the Crown Prince's study, the Crown Prince sat quietly at his desk with his legs crossed and his eyes closed. The candle cast shadows on his face, and his sculptured profile was stunning. While the Crown Prince and Xian Yi were cultivating, Feng Sun was restless. He walked around in circles and kept mumbling to himself. Can Xiao figure out that riddle or not? Boss June, are you sure that painting isn't too difficult? There are so many distracting elements in it. Gosh, I hope she didn't stay up late. Sleep is so important for girls her age. Irritated, Xian Yi snapped at him. Don't you worry. Little Feng Wu is very smart. I'm sure she'll figure it out in 3 days. Feng Sun pulled a long face. But Boss June always hides a cultivation technique in each of his paintings. She won't be able to figure out the answer before she learns the technique. Xian Yi nodded, because that was true. Feng Sun and Xian Yi turned to June Lin Yuan in unison. The Crown Prince still sat there, looking unperturbed. He then said indifferently, she's going to figure it out before the end of the day. Feng Sun and Xian Yi smiled bitterly. If she had to learn the technique before figuring out the answer, there was no way. Your Royal Highness. A man dressed head to toe in black walked into the study. The Crown Prince said, what? The man said, Miss Feng Wu has figured out the answer and is on her way to Three Trees Valley. What? Feng Sun jumped to his feet and yelled, are you sure? She really figured out the answer? The man said quietly, yes. OMG. Feng Sun cried out. So, it took little Feng Wu less than a night to learn the technique and figure out the answer. He was utterly amazed by her amazing sense of perception. Xian Yi nudged Feng Sun with an elbow to make him look at June Lin Yuan. Feng Sun looked up involuntarily and saw their boss, June, smiling. His eyes twinkled and there was obvious pride on his face. Boss June, do you like Feng Wu? Feng Sun blurted out the question. The proud look instantly vanished from June Lin Yuan's face. He stared at Feng Sun with his cold, piercing eyes. Chapter 1296. Luckily, it was her. Chapter 1296. Luckily, it was her. Get out of my sight, both of you. Crossing his hands behind his back, June Lin Yuan left the study while Feng Sun and Xian Yi looked at each other in bewilderment. They exchanged looks of amazement. Boss June didn't beat me up this time. Do you want to get beaten up? I don't, but the last time I asked him that question, he reacted much more violently. I think he's handling it much better now. I'll ask him again next time. Despite Boss June's pride, Feng Sun had much more confidence in the couple now. Feng Wu had no idea what was going on in the Crown Prince's residence. Right now, she and Xiaoga were headed for the highest peak that was known as Grand. The horses could only take them as far as the foot of the mountain, and from there they had to walk the rest of the way. Grand was indeed as majestic as the name suggested. Even when they threw their heads back, they couldn't see the peak. The climb up the mountain was strenuous and dangerous, but that didn't stop Feng Wu and Xiaoga. They started early in the morning and reached the top at noon. Once they were there, they saw a valley on the other side, which was 3 trees. Wait! Feng Wu stopped Xiaoga, who was about to dash off toward the valley. Xiaoga was confused. Feng Wu shook her head. Not many people know that Master Rongyang is living in seclusion here, but I'm sure he's set up some sort of defense system. We have to be careful in the woods here. She then gave Xiaoga a mask. This mask can stop you from breathing in miasma, as well as neutralize other types of toxins to some extent. After making some preparations, they entered the woods. At first, the ground was mainly covered in bushes, and they could still see the sun. As they went further in, however, the trees grew taller, and the thick canopy blocked out the light. It became dimmer and dimmer. Something feels off. My heart is racing. Chowga looked around, feeling alarmed. Fengwu pointed out, "It's too quiet." That's right. Realization struck Chowga. It's way too quiet. We should at least hear some birds or animals, but nothing has made any noise. This silence is so creepy. Why is that? Studying the plants, Fengwu narrowed her eyes. You'll soon find out. Huh? Chowga was confused. Just then, Fengwu grabbed Chowga's hand and cried out, "Run!" Instinctively, Chowga followed Fengwu's instruction and took off as soon as she heard her command. She looked over her shoulder a moment later, only to see some bright green, poisonous gas rushing toward them. What's this? It's the miasma. Fengwu lowered her voice. We must outrun this miasma. That's the only way we can survive to meet Master Rongyang. These woods form a formation. Luckily, I'm still able to see through it, so just follow me. Fengwu led the way, and Chowga followed close behind. Run, run, run. Chowga watched as Fengwu made her way straight ahead. There were bushes, streams, giant rocks, and even cliffs in her way, but Fengwu kept pushing forward. Anyone else would have questioned Fengwu's judgment and stopped. Luckily, this was Chowga. Chapter 1297. Sorry about that. Chapter 1297. Sorry about that. Chowga had always trusted Fengwu unconditionally. She would jump off a cliff if Fengwu told her to, let alone run through some obstacles. However, it was only after Chowga had jumped off the cliff that she realized that it wasn't a cliff at all, but a 1-meter-high wall. With Fengwu's guidance, the two of them ran out of the woods in less than 15 minutes. Chowga looked over her shoulder again and saw that the miasma had vanished. Phew, that was close. Chowga let out a breath of relief. I would have been dead by now if I were on my own. No, you wouldn't. Fengwu smiled. The miasma isn't lethal. It's more like a threat than a killing weapon. Let's go. Once they were out of the woods, the journey afterward was much easier. After following a wooden plank path that was several kilometers long, Fengwu and Chowga stopped outside a courtyard. It was a quiet and simple courtyard with a broken plaque above the front gate. They could faintly make out one of the characters on it, which said Rome. It was a 3-tiered courtyard, but they didn't know what it was like inside because they were stopped at the front gate. Stop! A stalwart man, resembling a big tower, bellowed at them. With that word, he struck at Fengwu. The power was almost savage enough to split the sky open. Fengwu stumbled back with Chowga, and only stopped after backing away 7 steps. How savage! With one look, Fengwu saw that the giant was too strong for her to confront head-on. After some calculations, Fengwu realized that she wouldn't be able to withstand 3 strikes from this man. Just then, there were quick footsteps from inside, and someone soon walked up to Fengwu. Hey, Fengwu, what are you doing here? It was Zhuo. The Zhuo family. Fengwu looked from the dilapidated courtyard to Zhuo Qingyu, and her face turned grim. What are you doing here, then? Fengwu retorted. This couldn't be a coincidence. Zhuo Qingyu couldn't just happen to be here on the same day as them. Zhuo Qingyu smiled. My family needs a favor from Master Rongyang, and I thought I could just tag along. Fengwu nodded. Zhuo Qingyu added, Xiao Wu, since we're so familiar with each other, I guess I can let you in on a secret. My family is here to ask Master Rongyang to forge a weapon for us. Fengwu frowned. To forge a weapon? Even a master like Rongyang couldn't make 2 formidable weapons at once. Fengwu only had as little as 6 days left. Was the Zhuo family doing this on purpose? Fengwu bit her lip so hard that it almost bled. Fengwu could control her temper, but not Chowga. She shoved Zhuo Qingyu. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? You knew that we were coming to see Master Rongyang, so you came here first. You sleazy bitch. Chowga was so angry that she wanted to hit Zhuo. However, Zhuo was a more capable cultivator than Chowga was, and she easily pushed Chowga away, slowly smoothing out the non-existent wrinkles in her clothes. Zhuo darted a contemptuous glance at Feng Wu, and her tone was full of ridicule. I see. You're here to ask Master Rongyang to forge a weapon for you too, right? Sorry about that, but my family got here first. Chapter 1298, A Taunting Smile. Chapter 1298, A Taunting Smile. You know, we're not asking the master to forge just any weapon, but a very powerful one. Master Rongyang has his own rules, and he'll only make one such weapon a year. Since he's going to make one for my family this year, I'm afraid you'll have to come back next year. Please leave now. Zhuo looked at Feng Wu in an arrogant manner and went back inside. She had spoken so fast and left before Feng Wu and Chowga could react. She got here first and is taunting us. Only then did Chowga realize what had happened, and she looked at Feng Wu in disbelief. Someone had gotten here first, and that idea frustrated Feng Wu as well. However, she soon smiled again. Xiao Wu. Chowga was so anxious and was at a loss over what to do when she saw the smile on Feng Wu's face, which baffled her. Feng Wu patted Chowga on the shoulder. Don't worry, just follow me. She then walked to the front gate. Stop! The giant glared at Feng Wu and wouldn't let her pass. Feng Wu smiled. Why did you let her in, but not us? Is it because I forgot to pay you? After that, a roasted chicken appeared in Feng Wu's hand. Gulp! Feng Wu could hear the man swallow. Tossing the chicken as far as she could, Feng Wu grabbed Chowga and ran into the courtyard. Chowga stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. How did you know that would work? Feng Wu smiled. I saw pieces of chicken bone stuck between that man's teeth when he spoke. That was why I knew he could be bought. Chowga was amazed. She had been standing in front of him with Feng Wu, but she had completely missed that detail, nor had she been able to come up with any solutions. How could there be so much difference in IQ? Stop! A cold voice rang out, and Feng Wu looked up to find an old steward standing in front of them with a stern look on his face. Who are you people? Chowga said involuntarily. We want to ask Master Rongyang to forge a sword. A sword? Yes. Just when Chowga thought that the old steward was going to chase them away, he said, if you're going to ask the master, you have to do it properly. Feng Wu sensed a malicious gaze from a window, and she turned around abruptly. As expected, she looked right into Zhuo Qingyu's eyes. It was indeed her. Caught by Feng Wu, Zhuo Qingyu didn't look away. Instead, she gave Feng Wu a taunting smile. Meanwhile, the old steward told Chowga, if you want to see my master, come with me. Feng Wu saw the smile on Zhuo Qingyu's face widen. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Zhuo Qingyu was behind this, and this man had to be working for her. The old steward led Feng Wu and Chowga to a pile of black sand and said coldly, move this pile over there to the stove. How much do you need? Asked Feng Wu. All of it by the end of tonight. Finish the job or get the hell out. The old steward was unbelievably mean. It was so obvious that Zhuo Qingyu had planned this. Turning around, Feng Wu indeed saw the gloating smile on Zhuo Qingyu's face. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.